Hi everyone, thanks for watching. You can support our work on our website ageoftruth.tv. And please like our videos, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, BitChute and Brighteon. And remember to hit the bell for notifications. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook. To be sure not to miss any of our shows, you can sign up for our newsletter on our website ageoftruth.tv.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Age of Truth TV. I'm Lucas Alexander in Copenhagen, Denmark. It's the 8th of July 2021 and we are ready with part 2 with our special guest, who is an Australian truth speaker and international lecturer on mythology, ancient texts, words, numbers, the secret long-term history of global control, astrotheology, and the controversial flat earth theory, which we'll be discussing today. He is the founder and creator of Syncretism Academy and the Universal Truth School website. Santos Bonacci. Good evening from Copenhagen, Denmark, and it's good afternoon, I believe it is, in Mexico, in Cancun, where we go for part 2 with Santos Bonacci. Santos, it's wonderful to have you back on the show again.
Thank you, Lucas. It's a pleasure.
Great. We had a wonderful part 1 and people should see that one in order to get into a little bit about your background and your history, because we covered that there and lots of really fascinating topics. But you have so many incredible things to discuss. And the major topic of today is, of course, flat Earth theory. The hot topic of today's discussion with Santos Bonacci. As we venture into this highly controversial topic, which has been dividing the truth movement for a few years, I just need to say up front that I'm not an expert in this field, and although I have been studying it quite a bit, we haven't really done previously any specific full-hour specials on this channel on the topic of whether the globe we live on is a globe, as science tells us, or actually a flat plane underneath a dome, which a growing group of people seeking truths behind government conspiracies and cover-ups has started to believe, who are known in popular terms as flat earthers. This is a large and complex topic and of course instantly dismissed by scientists and perhaps also the largest percentage of truth and conspiracy researchers exposing a hidden agenda. I have personally asked many guests who has appeared on Age of Truth TV about whether they believe there could be something to the flat earth theory, or if it is a well-orchestrated false narrative, a CIA psyop, in order to confuse and divide the growing number of people who no longer believe the official story we're told about politics, history, diseases, and science, repeated to us by the mainstream media and academia, and of course, the very well-known government cover-up, the existence of extraterrestrial life on planet Earth and all over the universe. But science can surely be trusted if it can be proven, right? It's not difficult for scientists, even fringe scientists, to prove that the Earth is round, a globe, like we've been told. But today we will be asking our guest, Santos Bonacci, what he believes and how he can explain it. So Santos, it was a shock to many of your supporters and followers when you, not too long ago, came out and began to insist that you now know that the Earth is flat, and you have allowed yourself to take part in several very eye-opening and rather aggressive debates online with people who equally aggressively try to debunk the flat Earth theory, whom you call and refer to as globetards. Obviously, and needless to say, I'm sure, we do not engage in aggressive or destructive debates on this channel, and we don't do name-calling. However, as an investigative reporter myself and an interviewer, I will be asking critical questions, as always, but we'll try with a very open mind, as usual, and we will also take questions from the audience who wrote a lot of questions to us in the last few days after our first interview with you. So, we'll see how many of these questions we can take today, and I'll try to do my best to follow your explanation on how it can be that the Earth, as you say and claim, is a flat plane and not a globe. So, after this long rant, let me just please begin with my very first question. A simple question indeed. With all of your knowledge and all of your research that you've done for years and years, which is extensive and extraordinary, how did you suddenly change your point of view? What made you believe that the Earth is flat? Take it away, Santos.
Well, I researched it because since I was a little boy, I was a Jehovah's Witness, and I would laugh at the flat Earth since I was a child, because the Jehovah's Witnesses, like all of the corporate churches, they love the Copernican Jesuit globe theory, because that's all it is. It's a hypothesis. That's what Copernicus wrote in his book. He says, this hypothesis is not useful for anything truthful at all. It is only useful to explain certain phenomena. In other words, he was saying it's a hypothesis, it will remain a hypothesis, and it is not useful for any kind of truth. That's straight from Copernicus, the Jesuits' mouth. So being a Jehovah's Witness, being such a very Jesuit, Jewish, Rockefeller, Rothschild, Chase Manhattan, JP Morgan church, I was indoctrinated at laughing at the flat Earth. So I've been laughing at the flat Earth I'm 58 now, so let's make it 55 years. So if anyone thinks that I've just gone crazy all of a sudden and jumped into some kind of a pseudoscience psyop, you've got something coming for you that you will never expect, because this has been a subject with me since I was born. This has always been with me, the flat earth, the globe earth. So I was arguing as a Jehovah's Witness that we live on a globe because the Bible says in the book of Isaiah that God created the circle of the earth. It doesn't say the sphere, it says the circle of the earth. But then there are other scriptures that says that God set the earth firm and stationary, and it shall never be moved. Now I can quote about 7 or 8 scriptures from the Bible where it says that the earth is stationary, fixed, and will never ever move till time's indefinite. So there already was hypocrisy. Then when I first started my astrotheology, I was actually using the Ptolemaic model, but I was explaining my astrotheology with Copernican explanations. But I was using the correct model. I've always been using the correct model, the astrological model, because the flat earth is the astrological model. Especially, you see, the split between Copernicus and all the globe people now was split between Copernicus on the modern side and Ptolemy. For thousands and thousands of years, everybody used the Ptolemaic model. Ptolemy, the most famous astrologer who ever existed. And that is the model that I've always used, always, in every single presentation I've done. But I was explaining it with Copernican theories and totally keeping the flat earth and stationary earth out of my mind as though it just did not exist. Then in 2014, videos started coming out and people were sending me these videos saying, hey, Santos, you need to look at this because you claim to be a truther. And there are people making claims that it is true that the earth is provably not moving and provably that it is a horizontal stationary plane. So I had to investigate. I cannot not do anything. I have to look into this. So after enough studying the stationary flat earth, I knew that it was stationary and a horizontal plane.
You're talking very intensely about the flat earth and that you believe it's a flat earth. And not round and not a globe, which is of course not accepted by most people. On the contrary, it is the most ridiculed thing next to shape-shifting aliens. Obviously, for most people, the flat earth theory does not make logical sense. And many people, researchers in the truth movement, a lot of them also say that this is a CIA cover-up and a psyop, a psychological operation, the Hegelian dialectic to divide the growing truth movement. What made you so sure of this and very certain of this and actually made you be, well, I don't know, brave or whatever you want to call it, to go out there and be easily, well, discredited, and people will get very upset because, as I said before, this has divided the truth movement. I was even told this by an insider years ago who would never appear in front of a camera, who said that in a few years we will be talking about the flat earth, which will probably divide the truth movement. And I was laughing a little bit. No, I said, everybody's waking up now, and why would somebody believe that? And they say, oh, you'll just wait and see. But of course, I was told this in 2011, and and then years after this came out and of course became a big thing, and it did divide the truth movement a lot. But it is also, we want to get as close to the truth as possible, and we want to look at all possibility. So in order to really get into it, please explain to the audience how you see the earth as flat. You say it is a stationary plane, but it is still round or a circle, right? You just say that it is flat, but then what is underneath? Is it like a disc or like a UFO? I mean, the look of a flying saucer, or how would you explain it?
If you imagine a large torus field, there's only one form in the universe, and that is the torus field, the hyperboloid torus field. And every torus field has a plane of inertia. The plane of inertia intersecting the torus field, that is the planet of Eartha. Planet means plane. So the Earth, the word planet simply means it is horizontal and a plane. So the plane of inertia is the planet of Eartha. We live inside of a massive torus field, and our Earth is the plane dividing the two hemispheres of this massive torus field. That's like the sphere that we live in, but we are the center of it. Now that's not just me saying it. That's what every single nation, culture, religion, cosmology, mythology, and ancient culture knew up until 300 or 400 years ago. Even the Encyclopedia Britannica in 1958, they said that at the wall of Antarctica, what they call the wall of Antarctica, there is a dome which is 13,000 feet high. So they specifically called the firmament the dome in Encyclopedia Britannica. Then in 1959,
Really?
that was gone. So I'm the one that's quoting science here. I'm the one that is being scientific when I say that the Earth is stationary. Every single experiment that has ever been done to prove whether the Earth is moving or not has proven conclusively that the Earth is stationary, including ones that I've done videos on. Pierluigi Iguina, he proves it in 2004 on YouTube in his laboratory with a strobe light switch. He can prove in his laboratory that the Earth is stationary. So if you go to my YouTube channel and you go to Flat Earth is Scientific, no, Earth is Stationary by Scientific Experiment, you will see my translation of the Italian genius Pierluigi Iguina, who says that the Earth is stationary, and he can prove that in his laboratory. He worked with Marconi for 10 years, and they proved that the Earth is stationary. That's how he was able to turn the lights off in Sydney. With people still don't know how Marconi did that. He said because the signal I'm sending is horizontal, and Sydney is horizontal from Italy. That's what he said. He said, I'm sending a signal and I'm going to cancel out, and all the lights went out in Sydney for about 2 or 3 hours. This is a historical fact. Marconi did this. And Pierluigi Iguina said that that's because the signal he was sending was horizontal. That's why we have a horizon. So science is on our side. Here are some intelligent quotes from intelligent people. Let me give you an idea. Do you think Rudolf Steiner was intelligent? Maybe not, but this is what he said. Mankind take it for granted nowadays that the sun is fixed in the middle of the planets, and these planets revolve around it. In the near future, it will be revealed that the school of Copernicus and Kepler is very convenient, but as an explanation of the macrocosm, it is not the truth. Here's another intelligent man, Martin Luther, speaking about Copernicus. He was a contemporary of Copernicus. He said, there is talk of a new astrologer who wants to prove that the Earth moves and goes around instead of the sky, the sun, the moon. just as if somebody were moving in a carriage or ship might hold that he was sitting still and at rest while the earth and trees walked and moved. But that is how things are nowadays. When a man wishes to be clever, he must invent something special. And the way he does it must needs be the best. The fool wants to turn the whole art of astronomy upside down. However, as Holy Scripture tells us, so did Joshua bid the sun to stand still and not the earth. That's what Martin Luther said. Here's what George Orwell said. It will be seen that my reasons for thinking that the earth is round are rather precarious ones. It does not rest on any reasoning or on experiment, but on authority. And how can it be otherwise when the range of knowledge is so vast that the expert himself is an ignoramus as soon as he stays away from his own speciality? Most people, if asked to prove that the earth is round, would not even bother to produce the rather weak arguments I have outlined above. They would start off by saying that everyone knows the earth to be round, and if pressured further, would become angry. In a way, Shaw is right. This is a credulous age, and the burden of knowledge which we now have to carry is partly responsible. So he was laughing at the clowns who believe that they believe in a globe and have got no way of proving it at all, not even one photo. And this is George Orwell. Here we have John Calvin, another contemporary of Copernicus. We will see some who are so deranged, not only in religion, but who in all things reveal their monstrous nature, that they will say that the sun does not move and that it is the earth which shifts and turns. Surely I feel like I'm moving. Wow, it's like an earthquake. We're doing Mark 88 around the sun and not a tremble. Mark 88, 66,600 mile an hour we're traveling at, and there's not even a tremble. So John Calvin continues, when we see such minds, we must indeed confess that the devil possesses them. This is true. This is what globetards are. They are devil-possessed, demon-worshipping liars because they've been fooled by a Jesuit psyop. And that God set them before us as mirrors in order to keep us in his fear. See, God put these fools that believe in a globe for no scientific proof at all whatsoever, and yet they get angry. And see, they cuss at us when we get angry, but they are the ones that are angry because why? Why do they get angry? Because they have no proof.
Well, it seems that a lot of you are getting very angry, and you've been taking part in some very aggressive debates and online with people who are also really aggressive, and it didn't seem very constructive. So in order for people to really understand this and understand if there is a possibility of this, then why are you calling them dumb when everybody has been taught that we are living on a globe? It seems absolutely logical. But then so what about the 24-hour day and night, light and darkness cycle? The sun and the moon, as well as the stars, moving as well daily and nightly across the sky. Clouds also move. And we can travel to all kinds of destinations with different time zones. And then the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere and the equator, the North Pole, the South Pole. Everything visibly and scientifically makes perfect sense. And here we are here in Scandinavia in the northern hemisphere. And during the summertime, it hardly gets dark. How do you explain these long, endless summer nights? Even in the top of Norway, it never gets dark during the night. It's daytime all the time with sunshine. And during the winter time, it's dark 24 hours a day, which is the whole 24-hour cycle there. And this is the northern hemisphere, and during the summer, and the same for the southern hemisphere, also during the winter. And how about sunsets in the west and the sun rising in the east? How do we explain this? Sun, moon, light, day. Take it away.
Okay, well, for a start, the sun and the moon are way more local than what they tell us. They're telling us really, really ridiculous lies that the sun is 93 million miles away. It's only a few hundred miles away. And the moon is 220,000 miles away. First of all, it's so easy to disprove those measurements. If the sun's cycle is an ellipse, and we have perihelion at January the 4th and aphelion at July the 4th, which means the sun is 4 million miles closer to the Earth at the Tropic of Capricorn, and then it's 4 million miles further away when it's at the Tropic of Cancer, which means that our oval-shaped ellipse orbit of the Earth going around the sun, and then the moon going around the Earth is also an ellipse. But every time there's an eclipse, they are exactly the same size. And yet they're both traveling on ellipses, elliptic orbits. You see how stupid, it's just so absolutely ridiculous to think that the sun's millions of miles away, 93 million miles away, and the Earth is 220,000 miles away. And the difference between the apogee and apogee of the moon is 30,000 miles.
But who says about, who knows about these miles and how long the distance is if it's not what we're told?
Yeah, this is the Copernican theory. You see, they say that the orbits are ellipses. And if they are ellipses and they're not perfectly circular, then the sun and moon at the eclipse can never be the same size every time. This proves that the sun and moon are local. That's how you get day and night, and that's how you get winter and summer. When the moon is closer in the Tropic of Cancer, when the sun is closer in the Tropic of Cancer, it is closer to the North Pole, which is in the middle of the circle. The North Pole is in the middle of the Earth. It's a hyperbola. It's a tree. It's the Yggdrasil tree of the Nordics. They all said that there was a magnetic tree at the center of the Earth. So when you circumnavigate the Earth, the pilot just travels east or west, always. And the compass, because it's always pointing to the center of the Earth, when he's circumnavigating east-west, he's always curving, he's always going around, and that's why you come back to the same place, because the compass brings you back to the same place on a flat Earth, because the North Pole is always, the compass is always pointing to the North Pole in the center of the Earth. So that's why you never hear of anyone ever circumnavigating the Earth south-north. It's always east-west, 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 all the time. Why? Look, they say to us, why don't you get photos of the edge of Antarctica and be smart and prove that the edge is there? Well, how about this? Wouldn't it be easier just to go to the North Pole and put Elon Musk's car there? He's flying it around in space at the moment. He can fly it to the North Pole, stick it right on the North Pole, have 4 cameras around and film the car going around 24 hours. We could do that in 3 hours' time. Anyone could do that right now. That could be done tomorrow. It's never been done in history. No one has ever gone and put someone on the North Pole, standing there, on the South Pole, standing there and watch the cameras go around him 24 hours. Why don't they do it? Because they can't. They can't do that. Think about it. Antarctica is a ring around the circle Earth, and there's a wall which prevents the oceans from overflowing inside of a torus field. The Earth is a plane of inertia. It cannot be moving. If a sod of dirt, you think about it, if a sod of dirt is spinning at Mach 0.3 and orbiting around the Earth at Mach 88, don't you think you would feel a wobble every now and then, a little tremble in the Earth, a little, maybe an earthquake or something, a little bit of a shaking? It's surrounded by soft water, surrounded by a soft atmosphere with butterflies flying around, and it's going at Mach 88. You know, humans die after Mach 5, Mach 6 or Mach 7. I don't know what it is. It might be 15. Don't quote me. But humans cannot take that velocity. How can a sod of dirt and why are the stars, why is it always Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer going round and around the North Pole? Polaris. Polaris has never moved for gazillions of years. It's always there, and Taurus, Gemini, Cancer never change their shape. There's never any parallax. There's never brighter stars. There's never dimmer stars behind us. They're always for thousands of years, and we're supposed to be flying at breakneck speeds through the galaxy. And the same old boring stars every day, never change brightness, never change parallax, never distortion, never anything. Because why? Because as Bhagavad Gita says, as the Bible says, the firmament turns around, and as Encyclopedia Britannica says, 1958, the dome is just turning around like a chandelier in the ether over the flat Earth.
But could the mentioning of a dome in what you say is in Encyclopedia Britannica, could that not be the Earth as a dome, as a globe? And a lot of people also, a lot of researchers into these esoteric topics also talk about hollow Earth and inner Earth civilizations, which we can get to later on as well. And you also talk about other planets, all of the other planets perhaps, or maybe you can correct me, if you think otherwise, are round and are globe shaped. So why should Earth be a stationary plane capsuled in this dome, and how can that even happen, and who created that?
The planets are also portals and disks like the sun. They are not globes, although they appear to be globes. They are plasma disks, and they are portals. There are 7 of them. And yes, when Pythagoras says that the planets are going around the sun, he was correct, but he was not speaking of the Earth. So he was not the first globey, as a lot of idiots say. Pythagoras was not that stupid. He was Greek. The Greeks knew the Earth was stationary. They knew that they still teach it. They still teach that the Earth is stationary in the Orthodox Church. In fact, in their Bible, it says flat Earth. So they know. They haven't changed the scriptures.
But a lot of people would contradict you on that, right? A lot of people, and religious people who read the Bible religiously, so to speak.
All right, well, get them to email me at music@santos.net.au, and I will show them 2 Samuel in the Bible, 2 Samuel chapter... I can't read it, but I will send them the page that I have here, and it says "upon the flat Earth." It's in the Bible,
but the Bible is written by man, and a lot of it is symbolic and perhaps not truthful at all. So and has been altered and changed. So can we even rely on that? I mean, we touched upon that a lot in the last section we did in the last interview with you, where we went into some of the your history as Jehovah's Witnesses and all that. But I mean, all the other planets, and we're talking about Mars and Venus and Saturn, they are round. globes or what? You
No, they're
you
not.
say.
No, they are plasma discs. They are discs, just as the Egyptians called them, the Babylonians, the Mayans here. The Mayans laugh if you call it, if you say Venus is, or a star is a ball. They laugh. Here, they laugh. They laugh at you.
Why?
Because they know that they are discs, they are chakras. They are shining light, luminous discs, and they are soundboards. They are making sound, sonoluminescence, and they are making the theater on the earth here. They are the theater producers. They choreograph all, astrology choreographs all of your life. Everything is in the stars and the sun and the moon in the firmament. Everything. It's
But how is that possible?
Electromagnetism. It's all electromagnetism. The sun is magnetic. It is a field perturbator. It perturbs the ether. The moon is dielectric. It absorbs the rays of the sun's magnetism. It is dielectric. It is black, receding light, resting light. The sun is white, motion light. It is radiation. The moon is gravitation, not gravity, the theory of gravity, gravitation. There are two principles, radiation and gravitation. So the sun, which is only very, very local, it's a portal, it's a wormhole, and it's a disk, and it is radiating magnetism.
A wormhole to what? To get out of the dome or what?
Yep. Yep, the moon is the wormhole to get into the earth. The worm is the ovaries of the solar system. The sun is Jesus Christ, the Savior, because we have to go through the sun to go back to cause, to go back to our true spiritual nature.
You mean symbolically, you mean?
No, literally, you will go, your spirit goes through the portal, the wormhole of the sun. It's a wormhole.
But I mean, how can I say this? Who makes this up, or who comes to these conclusions? How does that work? How did you get into this? Who told you about all of these things? You seem to have the facts very clear, you know, when you talk about it, and you talk about it as a fact. And of course, it needs a lot of explanation, and that's why we want to get into it as much as we can today.
I have read Jewish wisdom, I have read Hindu wisdom, Mayan wisdom, Hebrew, Japanese, the Nordic, and that's what they say, that it comes from them. It doesn't come from me. It's not from me. I have no opinions, I have no knowledge. What I know is from what I've studied.
But this is also what a lot of flat earthers are saying, people who believe in the stationary plane, right?
Yes.
So and this is the same opinion that you all have, or does it vary? Does different people who believe in this theory do they believe the same or what?
No, they don't. There is a lot of difference in their what I would call their model. The only way to know the true model is to know what the ancients taught. They said there's only one model, and that's the atom. Once you understand that an atom is a torus field, and every atom has a proton and an electron and a plane of inertia called a neutron, then you will understand how your body is. Your body is an atom. That's why you are called an anatomy, and it's in the shape of a T, which is representative of all the atoms that you are made of. And so those atoms are sonoluminescent discs. And they create a transverse wave, which is electrical. Your body is electrical. It's just made of waves. It's a vibration. But radiation is a longitudinal wave, and that's magnetism. And that's what's pulsing in your heart. And that is what is generating your body to make sound and light and make it appear to be solid, which it is not. So this is how the sun and the moon appear to be.
Which is why we talk about being a holographic illusion. I mean, we're in a holographic illusion, and also we are holographic in structure or in nature, right? Because atoms have no solidity, and neither does things, and well, the whole thing.
Yes, brother, you are ones and zeros. You are just like a computer. A computer has three things: spirit, soul, and body. And they say that humans are spirit, soul, and body. So the spirit would be the archive, the hard disk. If I've got a hard disk full of photos, I can guarantee you I can't smash it open with a hammer and pull those photos out because they're not there. Just like a brain surgeon cannot take all of your thoughts out of your brain when he does brain surgery because they're not there. They're in another field.
So spirit is consciousness.
Yes. And that's the archive in your computer. The RAM is all the wires and resistors and capacitors and everything that delivers that file onto your screen, which is the body. So I'm looking at you now. You're over in Copenhagen. I'm in Puerto Morelos, Mexico, and I can see you, but it's not you, and you're not in my. If I move my my laptop, I can't find you in there. You're not in there, not even digitally. It's just an energy that our senses are picking up, and that is electrical energy.
You certainly appear much closer than you are because we're really far apart, huh?
I know. So that's the beauty of having computers now. We can understand how we work. We come from counter space, but we appear in time-space. But this is not our true home. This is only temporary. We live here for 70 years, 80 years, 90 years, and then we go away.
What about reincarnation then?
Well, that's the job of the sun and Saturn and Jupiter, the discs that they are. That's the jobs of keeping either you here reincarnating or helping you to go through their portals. If you have the right frequency, you will ascend through their portals and you will go back to better realms.
So talk about better realms, or but please also talk about this dome. Who created it? Why is it here? Why is it like it is? Is this like what we hear anyway? Also, people who certainly believe that the Earth is a globe talk about that the Earth is quarantined, that we are in this, let's say, within this matrix. So are you describing the dome as the matrix, or is the matrix out
Yes.
there and further out there, which was what most of us well believe?
What we are experiencing in our dome, in our firmament, in our Van Allen belt or atmosphere or thermosphere, whichever science you want to come from, globe Earth, convex, concave, flat Earth, doesn't matter. If we're going to be talking about where we come from, those planets, they are our universe, our local universe. But we are not the only. This is not the only solar system. There's millions. It's infinite. Out there, there are many. When you look out there and you think you see galaxies, you're not seeing galaxies. You're actually seeing torus fields.
So let me try and understand what you're saying. So within the dome, you have these planets, and you also call them stationary flat planets, or like the Earth. Was that a disk?
No, they are immaterial. They are plasma.
So you cannot visit Mars, or how about the moon?
Yes, you can. You can in your spirit body.
But not physically, as they say, that NASA claims. And we have, of course, seen all the pictures of Earth and NASA, and also the moon and the moon landing from NASA. Would you claim that all of those are faked?
There's only one picture of the moon, of the Earth, that has been ever used for a true photo of the Earth, and that's the one on the first Apollo mission. And what they used was a very, very small part of the flat Earth, and they made it appear to be round with their trickery. Yeah, with the photoshopping techniques that they had back then. They've been caught out. There's a video proving and showing they put a filter on that scene of the Apollos, and you can see someone in the background actually putting border around the Earth to make it appear as though it's circular. And that is the only true photo of the Earth.
But a lot of people say, who believe in the globe Earth, of course, they say that the moon within the alternative truth communities here, they also believe that the moon landings were faked and staged and filmed by Stanley Kubrick and all those things, maybe in a studio or in the desert, but I mean, and they say they didn't go to the moon and was not in that space rocket, and therefore it was faked, and therefore they put an image there or some kind of VFX effects or whatever they had at the time. I mean, that's their explanation, kind of.
Yeah, physically they didn't go to the moon. They could easily go to the sphere of the moon in their spirit bodies. The Rishis masters were saying always that they would go from the moon and back to the Earth, reincarnate. They just kept doing that. That's what some souls do. They enjoy that. They enjoy
but you can see craters on the moon. You can see that. I've even seen it through a telescope.
It appears that is so, but that is also an optical illusion. It's easy to make an optical illusion on a flat disc if it's a flat disc. I don't think it's flat. I think it's slightly convex or concave. I think it's probably concave, the moon.
But who made all of this, Santos? Who created all of this? You believe in this whole thing is very complex, but I mean, who created that? For what reason? What's the purpose for this? And why are we being fooled by it? Why do the elite, in your opinion, want to hijack our consciousness with this as well and tell us such a major lie if it is a lie?
It's like everything else, brother. It's to keep us in a godless, directionless, aimless world where a lot of depressed, suicidal people live, a lot of slaves, a lot of people working for a penny a day. It's to keep our power away from us. If we knew all the truth, if we really knew the truth of where we lived and how the world really was, we would regain our paradise and turn it back into a paradise again. So it's the elite program that has been run for at least 300 or 400 years now to convert people to thinking that we live on a globe and that we are on that's all there is. There's no lands beyond Antarctica, although Admiral Byrd and Sir Captain George Hubert Wilkins proved by going 5,000 miles beyond Antarctica that there were many, many lands there to be seen. And I can show you ancient Tibetan, ancient Japanese lands that maps that show land past the ring of Antarctica, way past.
So you mean there is, on the stationary plane, there are countries or lands there, and that was where Admiral Byrd went to, where he said he visited the inner Earth, hollow Earth, and he went into a hole into the ground, way in there, and saw incredible things. So you mean it's on top of the disc?
Well, the
surface.
What Admiral Byrd went both to the North Pole and the South Pole. So when he was talking about going into the hollow Earth, that was when he went to the North Pole, because there's a hollow before the middle mountain, the magnetic mountain, the pole that is in the center, the hyperbola. It's called a pole, a tree. Now, he went into there and he went under, he went in there and under, and you can go under the Earth's disk, and there will be 7 more disk planets. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the ancient Indian texts, in Canto 5, it says there are 7 more terrestrial disks, planets. That's why we call it a planet. They are planets. And our Earth is the only one that extends past Antarctica and probably goes infinitely. It's probably an infinite plane. So they don't want us to escape.
So it's like a layer cake in a way.
Yes.
Or I mean, yeah. And you said planet, but it could also be plan ET, couldn't it?
True. See, they don't want us to go past Antarctica because they don't want us to be free. They're the people are living free. They're living how once the Aboriginals used to live in Australia before 1778.
Some kind of Shangri-La or what?
Yeah, so we could easily get helicopters and boats and flying machines. We could go through the portals that are at the dome at Antarctica, and we could travel beyond and go and visit these people. There's many peoples to come and visit. We're just trapped on this. See, the globe is for the global agenda: global warming, global community, global governance, global economy, global religion, global. All these globalists.
Globalization, obviously, which is what the whole New World Order, UN Agenda 21 is all about.
Yeah, and there is no globe. It's impossible. It's totally impossible. Look, we would be weightless at Ecuador, and we would be very, very, very heavy at, say, Alaska. We would weigh a lot more at Alaska.
Well, it's much colder. You need to eat more to keep warm, maybe, huh?
Well, at the equator, I've been to Ecuador and I didn't fly off, and the linear and angular velocity is 1,045 mile an hour. And I was drinking tea and coffee and nothing was flying in Ecuador.
How about the equator? I mean, this is also, we're talking about the southern and the northern hemisphere, and we have different temperatures. I mean, when in Scandinavia, where we are right now, it's like really, really hot, but I mean, usually in the winter, it's very, very cold. And in Egypt, it's always warm, and where you are, I guess it's always warm. I don't know about Mexico, really, if they have different temperatures there during winter and summer, but I mean we have this all over the world, and also the different time zones. You know, we are 7 hours apart, you and I, and in Australia, where you come from, we're like 12 hours apart or something.
So let's say that from top looking down, the Earth is that wide at Antarctica. That's the ring of Antarctica, okay? And where my nose is, that's the North Pole in the center. Here you have the Arctic Circle. Here you have the Tropic of Cancer. Here, which is 25,000 miles in circumference, is the equator. Yes, it's 25,000 miles in circumference. Here you have the Tropic of Capricorn, and here you have Antarctica. So when the sun in June, where it is now, the sun is around here. This is the northern hemisphere inside of that ring of the equator, which is 25,000 miles in circumference. Everything inside my hands, that's the northern hemisphere. Everything outside my hands, that's the southern hemisphere. So when the sun comes out to here to Capricorn, it's way, way closer to the Earth. They say it's 4 million miles closer when it's at the Tropic of Capricorn. On January 4th, it's perihelion day, and it's supposedly 4 million miles, and yet you've got winter.
But how do we explain this very moment? I mean, we are this is the 8th of July 2021, and right now the time in Copenhagen is 20:35, which is 8 6:35 p.m. And it's still sunlight, it's still daylight here, even though it's in the evening, and it's actually very, very warm. We have a hot summer this year, and it's around 1 o'clock or something in Mexico, and it's in Middle America, and we are on the level of Boston, I would assume, or something like that in Copenhagen. So it's very far away, but now it's also daytime there but it's evening here, but we have the summer nights, which means that it won't get dark until 10:30 or something in the evening here, or maybe 11.
It's really easy. It's so easy to explain, brother. So easy. As the sun goes around the earth, it's a 24-hour clock. It goes around clockwise. The sun goes clockwise over the flat earth every day, every day. When it's here, it is illuminating this half of the dome, and all of the noble gases within the dome in all the different spheres. There are different gases. For instance, let me tell you, in the hydrogen is the highest, then helium, then neon, then argon, krypton, xenon, radon, and nitrogen. Nitrogen is the lowest of the noble gases in the ionosphere, right? So when the sun is in the half of the dome, it lights up that half. The other half does not receive the light. In between the light and the day is a line called the delineator. I've seen the delineator with my own eyes. In 2002, I was flying from Perth, Australia to Melbourne, Australia. I was going toward the sun. The sun's coming toward me, coming westwardly, and I was going easterly. The sun was setting behind us in Perth. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Everybody in the aeroplane was gasping for what they saw. Everybody was like, wow, wow, wow. It was incredible. Everyone in the aeroplane, we're looking out the windows. Everything in front of us was pitch black. Everything, 180 degrees, pitch black in front of me. And everything behind was daylight, perfect daylight.
But how can that be explained? It seems unbelievable. You must be able to see it, well, elsewhere.
I saw it. Airplane pilots see it all the time.
Yeah, but I also believe that I took a picture out of the window where you could see that the Earth was rounding and you could see it was a globe. I mean, from a plane. I did that years ago. I mean,
those airplane windows, they are not straight windows, brother. They are convex. They are creating that illusion. But if you go up, you know, when Felix Braunmeyer went up 124,000, when he opened the door, 124,000, he was dead still. The earth was dead still below him. When he opened the door, you saw immediately that the horizon of the earth was right in the middle of the round window he opened. It was 100% horizontal at his eye level. There was the earth at 124,000 feet high. The higher you go, the more horizon you see. Flat, flat, flat. You never see curvature.
But you have to go much higher, though, with a satellite or with a rocket or something in order to see a spaceship, in order to see the round Earth, right? You have to go really, really far.
Yeah, but then why do we get people saying, "Oh, I can see the curvature here from the Earth"?
Right.
I'm standing on the beach, and there's the curvature. There's the boat going over the edge. That's the curvature. I can see it. I can see it. But then when you go 120,000 and the horizon comes up horizontal, you shouldn't be able to look. I've flown in a plane many times, and I've looked to the left window, and the horizon comes up to the middle of my window. I look to the right window, and the horizon comes up to the middle of my window. Horizon, horizontal, horizon, horizontal. That's thousands of miles of horizontal Earth. I've been up 45,000 feet, and I've seen this all the time. You should not even be able to see the Earth if it was a ball. the aeroplanes would constantly be going dip, 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 because they're going that fast.
But how do you explain lunar eclipses then, which only happens when the Earth gets in between the sun and the moon, and you can see a round shadow visible on the moon, the surface, the Earth?
Well, if you do the Copernican proportions, you will find that the Earth should be way bigger than just the same size as the sun. So whatever is going past the sun, it's a solar eclipse. The moon is going past the sun, and it's exactly the same size, right?
So it's not the Earth, so it's not a lunar eclipse, you mean, in the way that we've been told. That was one just recently here. We saw it.
Right. Well, lunar eclipses have been known to be seen when the moon is above the horizon and the sun at the same time. There's been full lunar eclipses in history. There's tens of them.
Really?
If not hundreds.
And do we have evidence of that people could actually see the sun and the moon at the same time?
Yes.
With the Earth in between, and yet it wasn't, you say?
Well, it can't be, because they're both in the sky at the same time. Here's the moon, and here's the sun, and the moon is being eclipsed, and they're both in the sky. Look, here's solid proof. Right. The sun, in the Copernican theory, the sun is in the middle, and then Mercury is the next sphere, and then Venus is the next one, and then Earth is the next planet going around. Well, at night, how is it possible that we see both Mercury and Venus high up in the sky at night when we're facing away from the sun? The sun's under our feet, behind us, under our feet. We're facing that way, and Mercury and Venus's orbits are tightly wrapped around the sun. How is it possible that we can see Venus over there? There's Venus high up in the sky.
Yeah, but do we see both at the same time? I don't know that.
Well, I see Venus every night.
But if I would go to Australia, where you're from, I'll see a totally different star constellation than in Denmark or in America.
True. Yes, of course, because the stars are a lot closer to us. They're only like about 60, 70, 80 miles high. They're local. So if you're, for instance, in a big shed, right? The lights over here, when you get over to the lights over there, you won't even be able to see the lights that are over here, because it's a flat shed, and so you're going to see different lights. So of course, if you're in Australia, you're going to see different stars, because the firmament it's local.
Yeah, but who created this? I mean, why is it made this way? You believe that this is a dome and everything you are explaining here, but I mean, who created it? How is it possible? And you say that there are a lot of these torus domes all over the universe that make up our galaxy, or many galaxies actually. So, I mean, yes. Who created this? Why is it made like this, in your opinion?
It's the universal creator, which some call Krishna, some call Christ. It's the electromagnetic, intelligent, conscious energy of the universe. It loves to create. It is intelligent. The energy that supplies all energy through atoms, through atomic physicality, that energy is conscious and loving and truthful, and it's God. God is magnetism.
You're talking about the Truman Show here, really, aren't you?
It's pretty much like the Truman Show.
But But I mean, why is it created like this, like in a dome, that's encapsulated? This is what we talked about, being quarantined, that people can't leave. And what about extraterrestrial life and life on other planets visiting Earth?
Well, they're coming from under the earth. They have technological machinery which far surpasses what we have on this plane.
Well, under the layers, the layer cake you mentioned.
Yes, they are way more. In many ways, they are way more advanced than we are.
What Admiral Byrd talked about, these civilizations under inside of the Earth. Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's what I would say is the hollow Earth. The spaces in between the pancake, 7 pancake electromagnetic planes of inertia that exist there. It's just incredible how this world is when you look.
And they don't come to the surface, or they do, or what?
Yes, they do. And they come in human form. Somehow they have the ability to appear in human form.
So this is what David Icke talks about when he talks about shape-shifting and reptilian shapeshifters who take human form. And well, many researchers have talked about that for years now.
Yeah, the Chitahuri of Dr. Credo Mutwa, the Chitahuri, they are, yeah, they're shapeshifters. They transdimensional beings, and they should not be interfering with us. This is a crime. They are criminals. They are doing something that is criminal, and they will be punished. That's why they are sent to. That's why they are sent to under the earth, because that is a place of extreme suffering.
But this is very religious. In religious terms, you kind of talk about it as if it is hell and not an inner earth civilization, which people say is a very beautiful place, Agatha.
No, only at the North Pole, at that around on the earth in the center at the North Pole, that is Agatha. But everything underneath in the hollow earth, when you get down to the other planes, those planes do not have such nice people. They do not have nice entities there at all. They're not nice.
But what about the Draco star system, where they say the Draconians come from the reptilian alien races, and then there's the Andromedans and the Lyrans or Lyrians, whatever term however you say it, and the Pleiadians and all of those star beings from other star constellations, alien beings, the Nordics and the insectoids and praying mantises, all of these alien types that we've heard about, and we've had many people on the show talking about that. How would you explain this then?
Well, their origin is from these dark stars, because not all those stars up above our head are there for our benefit. They are there for our death, accidents that we have, trauma. And so those entities, that's where they originate from, but they have been cast down to Tartarus under the earth, and that they're not coming from the Draco system every time they come here. They come from the same place.
But they did enter the dome at some point, in your opinion. Talking in terms of you mentioning the dome and everything, that principle we're talking about right now, they could enter, they came from other domes, or what?
Yes.
Where they have their own civilization and their own evolvement, or what? And then they came here, they were captured here, or they lived here. Some people say that they were here before humans, and that humans are a cloned slave race and actually merged or something, that there were a hybrid between mammalian aliens, the Nordics, and the reptilians, therefore the reptilian brain or whatever, and the DNA structure. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's partly true, but it's not completely true. Both have been contemporaneously original to this plane. The human experiment was supposed to be a good experiment. It was supposed to be a paradise here, and it has been. There have been golden ages. They also lay claim to having been the originators from past times, but there have been so many millions of civilizations that this earth has hosted that it's uncountable. Dr. Walter Russell said it's been doing it forever. Forever it has been seeding races and civilizations that have been coming and going on this plane forever and ever and ever.
And that's what we talked about in our last interview, the part one, talked about the reset cycle that they continue to do, which is also what we're seeing happening now, and that what they want to create again, what Klaus Schwab said about, the Great Reset, huh?
Yes, exactly. They're going to start another Tartarian mud flood reset where very, very few people with memory of the past civilization will be left, and they're going to try and make this happen.
But why not evolve humans and what we've come to further than this constant reset? This is horrific, huh? We're doing well, and we would do much better without the elite.
Much better. All their lies, they've removed the ether. They've introduced globalism. They've introduced flesh eating onto this plane. Once it was prohibited to murder animals and sentient beings and eat them. They've introduced pedophilia. They've introduced adrenochrome and blood sacrifices, where constantly there has to be a flow of children's blood so that their demons can continue to give them power. And, if that stops, if we expose them and that stops, that will be the end of and it's going to happen. Something soon is going to totally expose them. Totally. Something is going to happen in history which will so expose them that they will never be able to lie again. They will never be able to lie. That's why I'm such a fervent flat earther, and because the removal of the flat earth and the ether have been the two greatest lies in history, and that's what I stand for. I stand for this, to bring back this ancient truth. All of our ancients knew this. All of our ancients were flat earthers. They were all of them, every single one of them. And all of a sudden, a Jesuit invents a theory. And you saw what Martin Luther said, John Calvin, George Orwell, Rudolf Steiner. Who else have I got here that I can quote? Have a listen to what the beautiful William Blake said. The guests are scattered through the land, for the eye altering alters all. The senses roll themselves in fear, and the flat earth becomes a ball. So he was laughing at how people, William Blake, he was laughing. He says, everything rolls, in the minds of the stupid people who just believe their governments. He says, and the flat earth becomes a ball.
But I mean, in hundreds of years ago, people believed that the Earth was flat because we didn't have the measurement, we didn't have the science, and then science evolved, and then they discovered it was round and a globe. So it has to do with evolvement and understanding and new technology that can measure things. Wouldn't you say that?
True, but we have not been advanced. Our Tartarian technology has been taken away from us. In the last 300 years, the Jesuits have removed the true free energy that we had. We were flying, we had Mercury vortex vimanas, we were traveling, it was paradise.
400 years ago, but then we're back in the Middle Ages, where people were killing each other, and the Inquisition and horrifying, state of awareness at that time, very low frequency.
Well, that's when it started. Yes, that's when it started. But the thing is, before that, there was science that way surpassed the science we have now, just way surpassed it. So really, we can't use modern day technology to be an arbiter of where we live. Modern day technology is lying to us. It's obvious. I mean, we have rail guns that can shoot 100 miles in a horizontal vertical line, and that's 6,666 feet of missing curvature. How can a rail gun exist? It shows we've got guys with channels where they do infrared photographs. They've filmed 1,000 miles, 1,200 miles of flat Earth. We've got photographs from Reunion where you can see Mauritius, 120 miles long, totally flat. Mauritius is 120 miles. If there were curvature, you would see the island curve like this, but it's flat and it's 150 miles away. So you really shouldn't even be able to see it at all. It should be impossible to be seen on a globe, but you can sit there on a bright day and you can photograph from Reunion, Mauritius, 120 miles long, totally flat, and not dipping over the ball.
So Santos, before we take questions from the audience, a lot of our viewers sent in a lot of really great questions for you on the topic of flat Earth theory, which we're discussing here today in part 2. And we selected a few. We could not take all of them, but we selected a few questions from the viewers that we thought were really interesting and quite important. But first, I'd like to ask you a question here. If we are living in a sophisticated holographic-like manifestation that we call reality as part of a multiverse, perhaps never-ending, meaning that this reality is just one manifestation within the structure of countless parallel worlds and universes, then would you claim that all parallel versions of Earth are flat? Or could there be both, globe Earths and flat Earths? Your thoughts on this?
Good question. Firstly, though, I would differentiate universes from dimensions. I believe, according to the ancient Neoplatonists, there is only one universe, which means there is only one music. Verse is a verse of music. So the original creator, if we are Hindu, we will call that one Krishna, but everybody has a name for that. You can make up your own name. There is no name, in fact. So whatever you want to think is the original creator, he manifested one universe. And then in that universe, there are many timelines, many dimensions, and many worlds. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, there are trillions and trillions of solar systems like ours. Ours is only one in an unending amount of solar systems. It's just incredible. It's mind-boggling how many places to live there are in this universe. It's a musical construct. Holographic, yes, self-similar, and fractal. That's why I would answer the second part of that question as there is only one form. And I'm going to show you that today. I'm going to share my screen and show you that form that you can depend with your life that is how the solar system works.
Oh, really? But are you? It's so great that we can actually see something that you can show us. But are you saying then that you do not believe in the multiverse theory?
Well, yes, I do, but I don't use the word universe for the multiplicity of reality. I use dimensions. Different dimensions, you could call them universes, I guess, but I would say that there is one universe, and then from that comes an infinity of individuals, solar systems, atoms, and conceptions. All kinds of forms will exist, but they will all be based on the only form that the universe makes, which is the toroidal field atom. It's all atoms, and atoms are waves. The universe is waving. Everything you see is waving. It's all waves, and all of those waves, each one of them are astrological. They all start in Aries and they all finish in Pisces. So this is what I'm teaching, that if you want to understand the universe, there's only one thing to study: waves. If you want to understand waves, there's only one thing to study: astrology. Because astrology is the science of electromagnetic waves. So syncretism has everything. It has the answers for everything, and it has the correct answers based on direct knowledge. And the knowledge that I'm sharing with you today is not from any of my opinions. It's not even a belief. There's no belief in this. It's a knowing. And the reason I know that is, first and foremostly, I know that our ancestors were way wiser than we are today. In their kingdom of Tartaria, they knew exactly how the earth was. They described it. The Hebrews explained it. They said it's a plane of inertia inside of a dome, and then there's a dome underneath. The Hindus said the same. They said there's a chandelier. They call the sun and the moon and the stars like a chandelier in the ether, which is turning over the earth. The Bible speaks about it. All of the ancients who lived in Tartaria, that was the only model that existed.
When you say Tartaria, because I do know that you talk about that a lot, and we haven't really covered that very much either in part one or in this segment of our discussions here. But Tartaria, is that part of what we know as the old world or the ancient continents like Atlantis and Lemuria?
I would say so. It would be a mix of that. You cannot be 100% for certain whether it's Atlantean or Aryan or Lemurian, but you can definitely count on the fact that it was a time of great achievement, and there were no governments, there were only administrations. There were no national borders. There were only cultures that shared their knowledge and love and wisdom with each other forever and ever. And then along came probably some transdimensional beings with a different intention because of our pure and beautiful wisdom and energy and love that we have as humans. Our souls come from the highest source, not the second, not the third, not the fourth, from the highest source. Now, these entities, they don't. They're more artificial.
Are you referring to the archons?
I would say the archons, yes. I would say that.
Because some researchers also that we've interviewed on the show say that their version of how it was back then was that the Lemuria was, let's say, a reptilian kingdom. They came from the Draco system, and Atlantis was basically the Nordics or the Pleiadians or Lyrans or what have you. And then there was this huge war, and then they made like a peace treaty and created a clone race, which like a slave race. And that was the humans. What they didn't expect was that humans took or had or was given souls and empathy.
Yeah, I would sum it up similar to what you just said. It's something of that nature. Lemuria, the Hyperboreans, the Polarians, all of these were root races which the Earth has seeded. The Earth has seeded, according to Walter Russell, it's been going on forever. It's the host mother of many, many, many civilizations and cultures. She's been so generous, so generous. But right now, we are in a predicament because these extra-dimensional beings, they are fighting for their survival, and they have to claim Earth as part of their trophy. If they're going to win, they have to have the battery of human souls so that they can achieve what they want to achieve. So the war is on. It is Armageddon. It is the Gotterdammerung of the Nordics. It's the twilight of the gods. It's the final days. We are seeing it. We were always going to see it anyway. You were never going to miss out on it. Everyone that's supposed to be here to watch this is supposed to be here. You have lived many lives. You are here now just witnessing this one like a dream. You are here for a purpose, to witness it.
Well, right now, some of us would just love to be back in the 80s, huh? Or the 90s or something.
Yeah, I love the 70s, man. Led Zeppelin and Monty Python.
Well, that was before my time, but I know that it's supposed to be like the era, right?
Yeah, I know. I love the 70s. It was just so magical. But you and I, we are here. We have brought everything that we have from our transcendental, counterspatial dwelling home. We have brought it into this vessel of the body. All of our soul is here complete. Many have not brought everything with them. Many have lost parts of their soul. Many are finding their souls, trying to, they're trying to piece together who they are, what they are, where they come from, where they're going. Syncretism has all the answers. Once you know this correct model of the stationary horizontal earth, you will be so blessed, you will be so enriched, and you will know the truth that will set you free. This is very, very important, brother.
But a lot of people still say, whether you believe the earth is a globe like we've been taught to believe and it makes sense, or whether you believe it's flat or with a dome and everything that you and other people say makes sense, what does it matter in terms of what is actually going on in the world right now, what we're facing, this extraordinary crisis that is global, or whatever term you want to put on it?
Good question. And that's a very, very, it's a very correct way of seeing things. We've got very, very important other things. It's like a distraction, the flat earth. Why would you want to? Well, because many have failed to make this very, very crucial connection. Everything began, the earth started turning with Copernicus, who was a Jesuit, and the Jesuits are the mud flood resetters par excellence of our solar system. As Madame Blavatsky said once, she said, the cardinals of Rome are the most pernicious, vicious demon
worshippers,
channelers that the universe has ever known. These people are possessed by many, many demons, and they do the will of demons, and they are carrying out the will of these entities that are in the trans dimension. That's why they have adrenochrome parties and sacrifice children to them, because that's where they get the best energy. That's where human energy is like, it's ecstatic. It's like DMT, because that's what we're like. That's our true nature. They have dumbed this earth down so much that the frequency now, everybody's like tired. In Denmark there, everybody's hot now, and it's like, whoa, you can't even lift your feet. It's so heavy. So the reason why the flat earth is so important is that connection between the model that is the false idol that is underpinning everything that is wrong in the world today. It all goes back to this Copernican revolution. Go to Wikipedia and look up Copernican revolution.
Would you, I mean, you wouldn't to me or anybody else probably, but if you would swear under oath, let's say, that you're telling the truth and that you feel that this is the truth and you're speaking the honest to God truth, would you say that? Would you claim that this is the truth? It's not a hijack.
Absolutely, I would, of course, and I don't need to, because I've provided over tens and tens of videos proofs that we live on a stationary flat Earth. I haven't. So it's already there as truth. It's already, all my work stands on its own merits, and it is truthful, and it is there. I've already done that. I've already promised and promised and promised. I've put my reputation, not that it means anything to me in this world, but I put everything on that. I totally and absolutely embraced this truth. And when the spirit of the ancestors came to me, when I finally accepted and realized that I was using the correct model from the beginning, when that came to me, I realized that I was more in unity with this universe and more in unity with truth than ever. It was the most beautiful, liberating thing to know exactly where I live, and to know that I have been given a great opportunity with my knowledge to be able to expose this pernicious psyop called globalism, global agenda, global warming, global community, global governance, global economy, global, everything. These are the globalists, the internationalists. Even Hitler hated them. That's how bad they were.
It's so interesting because we interviewed, who's a good friend to the show. He's actually a fellow countryman of yours, Max Egan. We had him on several times, and I had him on the Open Mind Conference years ago here in Denmark. He woke up last year, just before the corona outbreak there, and suddenly he was hit by what he said was like an AI frequency who told him that the earth was flat, and that of course totally divided his followers and everybody was in shock. And then he was hit by another frequency the next night or something, where the same frequency said or explained to him, this was a knowing to him, he explained, that the earth was both flat and round depending on your perception and how you perceive life and your own reality. So what are your thoughts on Max Egan's thoughts there and what he was led to believe?
That's interesting. I mean, when you refer to the solar system as a globe, that is correct. The solar system is a globe. It's a torus field, which is an egg-shaped globe to the ratio of phi, 1 to 1.618. So I believe the bottom half is bigger than the top half of the torus field, but I could be wrong. It could be the other way around. But when you see torus fields, you see they're not perfect spheres, but they are called globes. So definitely we are living inside of a globe, and the firmament would be part of that globe. As the NASA scientists are saying now, they're admitting it's a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. We can't leave it. It's closed. So that doesn't mean that you can't go to the moon or you can't go to Mars. It's just you can't go there in human skins. You can go there spiritually, but you can't escape the torus field until you ascend to the point where you can leave through the portal of the sun.
But a lot of people also say that the so-called word ascension that a lot of spiritual teachers and New Age gurus are using, that's also a psyop. That's also not true ascension. It's a very overused word at the moment, you know. What about teleportation? Could people not go there physically? Or I think perhaps the last time you explained that you don't believe that Mars and other planets are solid, huh? Or what?
Well, no, I don't. They admit it anyway. If you go to Wikipedia and you look up Saturn, it tells you it's a gas giant. Jupiter is a gas giant. The Sun is a gas giant. So they're all plasma.
But not Mars, though. They can go there, they say, and have pictures if it's not in Nevada.
Exactly, huh? And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is because they still want to keep the going to outer space and the money that they're pouring from taxpayers. They still want to keep that, that trick up their sleeve. the funding they get from that's just so astronomical, and it just fills their pockets with cash, and they can continue to sell sand to the Arabians with their lies, you know. So that's basically.
But this would also question the whole field of ufology, huh? Are you saying that you would question that whole field of ufology and going to different planets and different planetary systems and ET races and in other worlds also coming here?
I don't know what kind of technology humans have. It is probably possible to escape our local firmament slash sphere slash solar system. There are probably portals, but depends on the technology. I really don't think they have the technology to do that. And besides, I know for a fact that the ones that we do see and are used to speaking about, they only come from this solar system and from other lands that we do not know of, but definitely from under the earth, the hollow earth, if you want to call it that, or in Bhagavad Gita, they're called Putala, Mahatala, Vitala, Atala, the 7 planes under the earth.
But UFO researchers, of course, say that they come from different planets, and they can travel here, and some live here. Of course, the Hollow Earth thing and everything, but also from other planetary systems. In and out, globe theory. Of
you
course.
know what? I wouldn't say that's impossible. They are probably right. It depends on the technology. Originally, they did come. They did come from other solar systems, but in all scriptures, it does say that they were hurled down to Tartarus under lock and chain, and they will not ever be able to escape that.
Ever? Wow, that sounds quite ominous.
Yeah,
it?
so they may have done that. You know, they may be partially correct there that they come from other solar systems, but I don't think they're going to and fro. I might be wrong. It's probably not as important as the topic we're going to discuss today, really. But it will give people, what I'll share with people today will at least give them their own, you know, if people have possession of their own minds, who think for themselves and are open-minded, they'll have flashes and illuminations of ideas, and maybe, you know, they will come to some certain conclusions which are truthful, and eventually we all will. It's only a matter of time before all the truth is disclosed. So,
well, before we go on to see some of your slides or whatever you want to show us and explain more, I think we should start including just a couple of questions from the audience and then take more a little bit later, so we mix it a bit. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so there's a Billy D who writes, "Good luck proving flat Earth, Santos. Impossible. Santos says you can't go into space. How come I can see space station, the space station and satellites in the air and in the night sky?"
Yeah, well, those are not out of space. There's no vacuum of space. Even all the great scriptures tell you that. There are no vacuums. Everything is a fullness. So what would be up there would be hydrogen. And provably, I can show you videos of rockets hitting the firmament and bouncing off the water. Bouncing, but rockets. They're trying to get through. Hillary Clinton is always talking about that stained glass ceiling that we are trying to break through, and we're just about there thanks to people like you. I don't know how many times she's spoken about that.
Do you think it's a reference to the dome?
It is, directly. So this guy who posed this question, he obviously has no idea about space. He needs to go and study Ken Wheeler and to understand that there is no time, nor is there space. Those are not things. They are not principles. They are attributes. And so they can't do anything. Space cannot do anything. You can't, for instance, a rocket, how can propulsion occur in a vacuum? If you get a boat and put it in water and you spin that motor, you'll move in the water. But if you take that boat and put it in the air and you turn on that motor, you ain't going to fly through the air because there's no propulsion. It's the medium is too rarefied.
But what about satellites then? That's what else he's asking about. You do believe that we do have satellites up there, huh? We can see them. I've seen them. You've seen them, huh?
Yeah, but that doesn't prove or disprove globe or flat Earth. They're there, and they're there. So what? They're not.
And you believe they can go to a certain height?
Well, they can't go to the thermosphere because they're all made of aluminium, and the thermosphere is about 7 or 8 times hotter than every single metal that they use for their satellites. So they're lying that they're 400 to 500 miles in a fixed gravitational pull where they don't go out or they don't fall back to the Earth. They are lying about that. They are satellites with balloons, brother. There's only one way. There's only one way that those satellites are working, and that is with balloons. That's how they always have, and that's how they always will be.
I do think that John Lear also explained to me once in an interview that nobody could go through or penetrate the Van Allen belt. That he also said. So I guess that, I don't know, it's teleportation or another way. That was how he explained it.
Yeah, he's right. It's a closed system. The Van Allen belt, I would say, is probably the firmament, or probably what's called in the model I teach, the astrological, biblical, Ptolemaic model. It's probably the crystalline sea or the primum mobile. So when they talk about belts and spheres, it's all toroidal. It's all toroidal fields. That's all it is. So you've got ionosphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, Kuiper belt, asteroid belt, Van Allen belt, belts, spheres. It's all the same thing. It's all the torus field universe or a solar system that we live in. And how do I know that? Because that's the only model that nature makes. Nature only makes torus fields.
All right. So let's take another question from the audience. Henrik B.J. writes, in the documentary film on Flat Earth called Behind the Curve, there was a test done by those involved with making the film using a very precise laser gyroscope, which they wanted to use to prove that the Earth was flat, but instead they ended up disproving the idea and confirmed that the Earth was a globe. This was even done by a group of flat earthers. Was this a valid experiment? He asks.
In my presentation today, I'm going to show you a video where you can see 37 laser experiments proving that the Earth is flat. Now, you don't need that because this is all you need. You can go to Reunion and with a P900 camera, you can zoom into Mauritius, 120 miles long and 150 miles away. Firstly, you should not be able to see it. Secondly, it should not be standing at your eye level. And thirdly, there should be some curvature to 120 miles. In fact, there should be about 7,000 feet of curvature, and there's none. It's 100% flat.
Well, you're supposed to go up really, really high before you can see that the Earth is a globe and that it's curving, huh? But what if you use a gyroscope, though? Shouldn't that be pretty precise? A laser gyroscope, as this guy is asking?
Well, the gyroscope only proves that the Earth is stationary because when the pilot lands, The gyroscope is flat and level as it was when he left, and when he left is where it was set. That's where it can never ever change. They say that as the planes go over the curve, it adjusts to the North Pole and the magnetic pull and everything. No, there's been many tests done where it does not.
But what about this documentary film that this guy is talking about called Behind the Curve, that they say it was a group of flat earthers that wanted to prove it, and they ended up disproving it and discovering that the earth was round. I mean, that's what is in this film, obviously. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't, but I'm going to. So please send that to me, and then we can perhaps discuss that another time. But I would say, when it comes to things like the Foucault pendulum and gyroscopes and things like that, and what they call the Coriolis effect, you must understand that magnetism has the weather and magnetism and what they call gravity. All of this is a system that is in place which does manipulate, it can manipulate instruments. It won't make Mauritius straight, and it won't bring it up behind the curve. You can see it with your own eyes 150 miles away. That's proof for any intelligent being. If you really want to hang on to brainwashing and say, no, that's not proof, go ahead, that's fine. But that is conclusive proof beyond any doubt. Besides what I'm going to show you. I mean, there's a guy now who's taking infrared shots of the Earth, and he's getting about 1,200 miles of flat Earth. And of course, there's going to be people, paid shills, that, like Craig from FTFE's channel, who will say that that's been debunked, and it has not been debunked. And even if it is been debunked, that he got Hudson Bay and the Great Lakes in North America, he got them confused with it. Still shows hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles of flat Earth, just as the 4,000 square miles of flat salt lakes in Bolivia, 100% flat, 4,000 square miles, you know. So, and some of the states in the US, they're all flat. They call them pancakes. There's a place where you can see with your own eyes, you stand on a hill, you can see 7 states of America. Impossible on a globe. It's just absolutely impossible.
Well, a mountain is not very high up, is it? I mean, it can be, but it's not that high. It's lower than planes flying, you know?
Yes, it is. Yes.
So what can you see at that altitude anyway, you know?
Well, not much with the eyes, because the atmosphere is not transparent. The atmosphere has particles. It's got, I mean, when you're driving on a misty night, you know, you can only, when it's pouring rain and there's a lot of mist and fog, you can only see with your big headlights, you can only see 2 meters in front of you.
And what about the horizon? I mean, it's like when you see an ocean, then it's like that, then it stops, you know, and then you can't see any further.
Yes, because it's called the vanishing point. Eventually, your eyes, it has to shut off. What you can see must shut off. It's like a tunnel. You can be in a 6-mile tunnel, dead level, but you will never ever see the light at the end of the tunnel, because you can only see 3 miles. At the 3-mile point, convergence will shut the end of the tunnel out, and you cannot see.
So when you are in the desert, and I've seen these things myself in the Sahara Desert, for example, you see a Fata Morgana.
Like mirage, Fata Morgana.
It's a mirage. It's an optical illusion. It's a mirage from far away. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, where I grew up, I lived on a road called River Road, and it was flat, dead flat. And I used to watch the cars disappear, and as if they went over the curve, and yet this road was flat. They disappeared. But what disappeared first was the bottom. You see, and that's why they say, oh, when you see ships go over, the bottom disappears first. Yeah, because that's the vanishing point.
But didn't it just go over the hill or something?
No, this road was flat, dead flat, because you could see after about it's a 4 mile, like about 4 miles long, you could see the bottom of the mountain at the end of the road, but the cars would disappear. You could see the level of the mountain at the end, but you'll see people walking down the road, you see their feet disappear first, and all you see after a while, all you see is a head. It looks like a head is walking towards you.
So not just because they're going down the hill or something, because the road is going down.
Oh no, it's flat. You can see that. You can do that. Test that yourself on any flat road.
Okay, so we have one more here from the audience. We have more, but this one also is a bit interesting and kind of an edgy comment. Mark Coleman writes, on YouTube there is a YouTuber calling himself Professor Dave, who has millions of views on just one video, and he has many videos. And it seems to be apparently 100% uncensored by YouTube, and clearly a biased narrative propagandist who has made it his business to take on the flat earth community using ridicule and name calling. But he does refer to science, to credible science, but and doesn't speculate. What are your thoughts on this Professor Dave?
Professor Dave, I would imagine, is like the doctors and Fauci and Bill Gates who really reassure you that, you know, vaccine deniers and anti-science people, we've got science, you know, we've got science behind us, and we've got all the science, and we have the authority, and vaccinations are good for you, and why you should wear a mask one day, the next day why you shouldn't wear a mask. And these guys like Professor Dave's, they are paid. They've been paid. See, originally, when the elites started messing with the truth movement by reintroducing an ancient truth, that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to make confusion. They wanted to see. They always tell the truth anyway.
You mean the splitting of the truth community with introducing flat Earth theory, which we talked about in the first segment? Absolutely,
because the reason is because the flat Earth has never gone away. People have always known it, even up until today, even without the videos and even without the reawakening of the flat Earth movement. People have just, they know it's stationary because it never moves. So they already know it, and so that's why the elite do these things. You know, they play these tricks because they want to then co-opt it. Then they've got all their little stooges ready, and then they do the counterattack, and then they confuse people even more. And
well, that's what a lot of people are also saying in terms of people who believe in flat Earth theory. That was what I was told. I told you that previously also, that I was informed that this would be a narrative that they would push on people and try to divide the truth community, you know, by introducing this flat Earth theory, and they say it was a CIA psyop. So the other way around is also what people say.
You could say that. Yet you could say that they jumped in with a psyop because they knew that they were going to have their little paid shills to bring out all of this science, which proves nothing, but absolutely is inconclusive every single time. So they knew that they would have the counter. Look, they always tell you the truth, and then they come back from the back and confuse and muddy the waters again.
Well, that we certainly know to be a fact, for sure. Absolutely. No matter what way you look at it.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I have one more here from a Nikki who writes, Santos, I've seen several UFOs over the years. One was like a flying saucer, one was pyramid shaped and appeared and disappeared in a split second. The third UFO sighting I had was a massive light, round and changing colors. If we are living in or under a dome, how can these ET ships enter or leave? And do you also believe that other planets are capsuled under a dome? Maybe we actually talked about this before, but it would be great if you can address this.
Well, yes, all the planets, the 7 wandering stars, including the luminaries, the sun and the moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, are all under the dome, and they have their own spheres, or you could say planes of existence, like Russian nested dolls. All the 7 planets, let's call them planets for now, that'll do. I'm using the wrong words because there's only really one planet, and that is the Earth. They are wandering stars. They're all luminaries. So these planets, these luminaries, they are all under the dome. Now, where do they go? Well, people have seen them go into the water. People have seen them come out of volcanoes. People have seen them come out of the water. People have seen them come out of out of thin air. I mean, they have cloaking. They have very advanced technology. They can cloak. They can appear. I could have a drone cloaked in my room right now, and I wouldn't see it. That's the technology they've got. So I would say they're just going back to under the earth where they come from. I don't believe they're leaving. They could be leaving this system. Yeah, they could be. I don't know everything. There are probably ways of getting out, but the ones who have been condemned here, who are trying to control the earth, they will never leave. Hillary Clinton, she's never going to leave. She's going to do her time and justice under the earth in the hellish plains, Hades, Infer, Sheol. That's where they will live.
Wow, that doesn't sound too nice, does it? But I mean, she also asks Nikki if you think that other planets are capsuled under a dome.
They all are, yes. They're all inside of torus fields. Everything is torus fields. When you go to Google Images and you look at galaxies, put the word galaxy and torus field next to it, and jet streams, and you'll see how everything works, from the macrocosm to the microcosm. What you're looking at is a big atom. When you look at the sun, you're looking at a big atom. When you look at the moon, you're looking at a big atom. The spherical part that you see of the moon, that's only one part of the moon. That's only the hyperbola. That's only the portal. That's the counterspatial portal that the moon occupies under the firmament. You're looking at a hole, and that's why they are called holy, holy Mother, Holy Father, who art in heaven, because holes, wormholes, have to do with holy entities coming through them. So I'm not going to say, no, they're not coming from other places. They could be, but in my opinion, all of them are local. They're all from around here.
And could some of it be military technology, way more advanced than we're told?
It is. It is military technology. All of it is.
So there's a viewer who writes, and I can't totally get what this viewer is saying, but I'll try to translate whatever or read what I can. There's talk of several hidden continents, about 14 altogether or more, and and maybe others that are kept from public awareness. Could there be any truth to that? Did you understand this?
Yes, yes, there could be. But what I think is what Admiral Byrd and his colleague or friend or contemporary, Sir Captain George Hubert Wilkins, said that they travelled 5,000 miles beyond the Arctic wall, and they did see there other lands that men have never ever seen that exist. So the firmament, obviously, it's where Polaris is at the top of the firmament. That's probably about, in my opinion, it's probably about 100 miles, maybe 200 miles high. And then at Antarctica, it's only 13,000 miles high at Antarctica. How do I know that? Because I learned that from Encyclopedia Britannica 1958, where it says scientists went down to Antarctica and they measured where the dome was exactly 13,000 feet high at Antarctica. So it obviously does come round like this, and it is concave. That explains how stars appear to have another star trail going in the opposite direction. What is happening is concavity actually flips things upside down. When you look at your image in a spoon, on the convex side, you will be standing directly vertical and in the upright manner. But when you turn the spoon to concave, all of a sudden your image is upside down. So the stars that appear to make another circle at the South Pole, they are diverging from our point of view. It's a perspective warp. They are still going around. They are just going all 24 hours every day. They just go round and round and round.
Only for 3 and 4 hours?
Every 24 hours, yes.
24 hours? I thought you said 3 or 4 hours.
No, every 24 right. hours, they go. The ether goes around once with this chandelier, as it says in Srimad Bhagavatam. It goes around once every day. And so way over at Antarctica, when we see the stars going the other way in the opposite direction, diverging and appearing to make another, like Polaris is doing, a star trail, that is a perspective warp. That is because of the concavity of the dome. It is much more pronounced beyond the celestial equator or the ecliptic. It's flatter at the top. Where Polaris is, it's not as concave. Then the concavity begins more after the equator, the celestial equator. It really is more pronounced. And so the stars, from our perspective, diverge and give the appearance of a second star trail, but it is not. And how you can prove that, and how you can know that, is quite simple. Because how can you have fixed star trails for thousands and thousands and thousands of years with Polaris never, ever, ever, ever moving from the center of it, and yet we're not just rotating, we're also orbiting at 66,600 miles an hour, Mach 88. If we're traveling at Mach 88, you should never be able to have a camera on Polaris and see stars going around in circles 24 hours a day, every day, for thousands of years. You should see drifting, because we're actually orbiting. Not only are we orbiting, we're doing two other motions as well, which I'd like to get into if we can start the presentation.
Yes, we can do that, and then we can. Then I can take some more questions. I still have some more questions from the audience that I think they deserve to have an answer to. Should we do that afterwards?
Absolutely. So this is essentially more or less what Copernicus and what the globe model teaches. First is Mercury, then Venus, then the Earth, then Mars, then Jupiter, then Saturn. Okay. And the sun, they say the sun is this big compared to the earth. So the parallel rays of light that come from the sun, for some reason, they converge. They diverge like this. It's funny when they give you this model, and yet when you see the sunlight, it goes like that, which proves it's local. Otherwise, all the sun's lines, rays should be absolutely 100% parallel, and we should always have 12-hour days and 12-hour nights without fail with a globe model. You can't have, like in Sweden, 4-hour days on a globe. It's just absolutely impossible when you think about it and when you use your mind. So if Venus is way, I think it's about 60 million miles closer to the sun than the Earth, or 40, something like that. All right, now, so we have something like this. Here's another version. There's the Earth, there's Venus. Now, Venus's orbit is obviously inside our Earth's. So I propose this to globe people. If this is the sun over here, and Venus is going around the sun, and over here we have the Earth, and this half represents the nighttime, and this half represents the daytime. Why is it that we always see Venus about 70 degrees high, and sometimes up until 11 o'clock at night, you can still see Venus? How is it possible to see Venus and Mercury with this model? It is impossible. There is no possibility at all whatsoever of ever seeing Venus on a globe model. So this alone is very, very kindergarten, but for people who are thinking, this should set alarm bells ringing loudly. So,
but there are many times where we can't see Venus, right? Where it's not visible. Is that not also true, or what?
Yes, for 72 days. I think it's 72 days, or at least some constellations, they always disappear for 72 days because it's the way it works around I can explain all that over the stationary Earth. It's very, 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 very easy to understand. All things are easy to understand. Just if you give me time, I will prove it conclusively, comprehensively, and exhaustively, without any doubts. No one will ever need to doubt again if you give me time. So here we are. If we're at night, we are facing away from the sun. Venus is here on the inside. How is it possible to see these two planets, Venus and Mercury? If you're over here, I'm over here in Mexico, there's South America, there's Mexico. How is it possible that I look straight up? If you go tonight and look west tonight, you'll see Venus. Anyone, all around the world, anyone on Earth tonight, you go out, you'll see Venus. How is that possible? When we're facing away from the sun and Venus, her orbit is way, way back, millions of miles closer to the sun. It's impossible, simple. So here are the four movements that Copernicus postulated. Rotation of the axis of the Earth, 1,035 miles an hour, which is Mach 1.3. Well, I've been to Ecuador. I didn't feel that that thrust, that gravitational, or should I say radiational thrust whatsoever. I wasn't lighter. I wasn't heavier. Everything was the same. And the Earth was very, very stationary, no wobbling, no moving. Then we have an orbit of 66600 miles an hour. That's Mach 88 or 86. That's the Earth orbiting the sun. Then we have the sun orbiting the Milky Way galaxy at 550 550,000 mile an hour. That's Mach 716. Now, all of these marks that are coming up, we should be feeling a bit of a wobble, I think, a little bit of a tremble or something eventually, rather than just dead, 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 pure stillness.
I think you think it's dead, but how do you explain earthquakes and all of those things then?
Yeah, it's all electromagnetism and gas. Pierluigi Gina, the colleague of Marconi, he explained that the Earth is stationary, and he explained how earthquakes work, and he has created technology to prevent earthquakes from happening, and he has done that. It's all about gas. He says it's unreleased gas under the crust of the Earth, which is coming up. The gas is coming up and lifting the Earth, and he knows how to put a valve. He knows how to drill valves down under the crust and release that gas, and just comes out into the atmosphere. And once upon a time, there were no earthquakes in Tartary because they had this technology that Pierluigi Igina, the flat earther, colleague of Marconi and an Italian genius who died in 2004, he went to his deathbed, and the most famous teaching of his was the Earth is stationary. And if we don't come around back to that truth, like our ancients once taught, we will never advance.
But what about the plates? They talk about these earth plates moving and going up under or above each other, and this happens, and then an earthquake erupts or happens, huh?
It's all due to electromagnetic breaths. Everything is breathing. All the torus fields are breathing. They radiate, they gravitate. They radiate, they're always making circles of lines of electromagnetism. Everything is breathing. So our Earth...
So is that the same with volcanoes?
Exactly.
Erupting?
Exactly. It's a torus field. Look at the volcano. It's a torus field. It's a crystallized torus field. So the fourth movement is 650 million miles that our Milky Way galaxy is going around the center of the universe. And that's Mach 847. So there are four motions. We are traveling at breakneck speeds, and yet we never ever see any star get brighter or dimmer or change in shape. There's no distortion of any constellation. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, boring, Cancer, Leo, boring same stars, thousands of recorded years of history. They never change, they never will. The ones that we're going towards are not getting brighter. The ones that we're leaving behind at, what is it? Mach 847,000,000 Mach, and yet nothing in the stars ever change, ever. No parallax.
But how do you explain a star expiring? A shooting star, a star that dies, that we can see in the night sky, a shooting star.
These are stars that are discharging along the firmament. I'm going to show you a video in a moment of a comet. I'm going to show you a video of a time-lapse comet. And you'll see the comet with the time-lapse, the tail of the comet is moving like this, with the fixed stars in the same position. It hasn't even got its own proper motion, which proves that it's a firmament. And those comets are just discharging along the firmament in the hydrogen above. It's all hydrogen. The universe is all hydrogen. Every element is just a compound of hydrogen. gold, silver, sodium. It's all water, hydrogen. That's what the Greeks once taught. Everything is water. So here we have supposed, well, they're images. People think these are photos, which makes me laugh. You can see that Neil deGrasse Tyson's pear-shaped oblong Earth does not exist because there's no photos of it, and I don't see any pear. As he says, it's pear-shaped. Well, that looks perfectly spherical to me and very, very digital. CGI. And why did America grow double its size from the photo quote unquote of 1978 to the photo of 2012? How did America grow so much compared to the Earth?
Is it not according to how it's tilted or how it's photographed?
Absolutely not. I'm going to show you more of these photos to see how ridiculous it is as we go. Here, look at this one. 2012. America is occupying about, that would be at least 100 degrees of the sphere over here. It's like about 60 degrees. Look how small it is. Can you see the joke they're doing? Can you see that all these are just CGI?
But when you are in America and you fly from one city to the other, from the West Coast to the East Coast, it's the same length and it takes the same amount of time, and we can go kilometers and miles and whatever we use, and it's the same. It's measured totally, huh?
Yes, but you see, the linear velocity at the equator is different to the linear velocity in, say, Paris or New York. So what's going on there? Can someone explain how do pilots land on a north-south runway in Ecuador when the Earth is going 1,000 miles in that direction and you're landing your plane on a north-south alignment? And do they have calculators to work out how to do that when they're in New York, because they're going at, because the Earth is now, the linear velocity is half the speed? Is there I don't see any gauges in there that say, hey, we are now at 52 degrees latitude. We now have to slow down because the Earth is half the speed now, and let's make those adjustments because we just come from Ecuador, where the Earth was doing 1,038 miles an hour. Now it's only doing 500 miles an hour in Boston. So who's adjusting what? Can the pilots explain what they're adjusting there? And they should be landing a lot more solider in Boston than in Ecuador because of all that thrust. It should be like almost impossible to land.
But shouldn't some pilots at least be aware of this or have access to this knowledge, flying all over the Earth, seeing it themselves? Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get to that. There are hundreds of pilots coming out saying that the Earth is flat, and they know it's flat.
Really? Uh-huh.
There's videos coming up. I've covered everything. I've covered everything here. You give me enough time, I've covered everything. Nothing will not be left unturned. And all of these things that I'm proposing, I'm going to leave for Craig from FTFE, like this Dr. Dave guy. I'm going to leave them to debunk. And good luck to you debunking me and the ancient teaching of the true stationary horizontal.
Are these the guys that you went where you did a really aggressive debate recently?
Yes, it's the only debate I've ever done, and I don't know why I accepted, because I could see that this guy was absolutely a paid shill and a degenerate and a liar and a thug and a cheat. He kept talking over us. I sent him those nasty emails to get rid of him. I couldn't get rid of him. He still emails me every day telling me that he's going to destroy me.
Yeah, but why would you engage yourself in such a very, very, let's say, low vibrational debate? It's not very.
Oh, he got me on a bad day, man. If I have a bad day,
you wouldn't want to debate you or what?
well, you just don't want to be near me. I keep myself at home.
Oh,
you know?
how lovely, huh?
Yeah, I'm only human, you know. And he got me on a bad day. He got under my skin, but that will never ever happen again.
Because that's not a very, it's not a very constructive way, perhaps, in order for people to really learn about this. If you have a mission with this and a purpose, then being on good terms with people, even if they are using name calling and bad behavior, that may not be the best choice to get into that, huh? Get involved with people like that.
It was a very, very, very bad choice. It was a big, big, big mistake. But ultimately, any publicity is good publicity. He is sending millions of people over to my channel. And out of that, all the intelligent ones will know that the Earth is stationary and flat, and all the stupid ones will continue in their brainwashed ignorance. And one day, they'll probably fall off the bottom of their Santa ball with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Let's have a listen to this.
But that's also a very, very harsh and not a very kind statement towards people that still believe that the Earth is a globe, because it really scientifically makes sense to them and whatever they've been told and can study themselves. I mean, it is a very delicate topic, this. Don't you agree?
It is, but ignorance is a choice, and they choose their brainwashing. Nurses that see patients dying within minutes of vaccinating them continue doing their work. That's willful ignorance. They are the ones who deserve to die. They are the ones who deserve to be caught out, exposed.
But that's certainly that's a thing you can really see, and it's a totally different thing, right?
Well, I don't think so, because if I can see Mauritius from Reunion, then the Earth's flat. So and if I can feel that the Earth is not moving, then it's not moving. So it's the same thing. It's your own science. It's your own brain. You got to use. Eventually, you're going to have to use your own thinking, and you'll come to that conclusion. You simply will. You cannot. You cannot continue to be brainwashed once you get knowledge, especially the knowledge I'm going to share here. So let's have a listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson, the lying Freemasonic Jesuit shill retard, shall we?
So you spin, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. It's wider in the middle. So Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning, and got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above it. A little chubbier. Yeah, chubby is a good word. It's like pear-shaped. So it turns out the pear-shapedness is bigger than the height of Mount Everest above sea level.
How much higher is the tall mountain that you identified, whose name I forget?
Very, very funny, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's going to be a very, very sorry man one day when he leaves his body, because no one of the good transcendental, angelic, archangel, and luminous beings will accept him in their world, because liars will not persist. They will perish.
Well, that's very judgmental. That's like a doomsday thing to say, like what they use in the Bible, or what priests are using, talking about hell. It's that way of making people feel guilty and frightened, huh? It's that method.
Not necessarily. Think about it. Some people are already in hell. You look around you, you see people, they're so mentally tortured. They're so emotionally, they're alcoholic because they're trying to drown out their emotions. they are already living in hell. And yet you look around a bit more and you'll see people living in pure bliss and in paradise. How is it that there is both hell and paradise on this plane? What I'm saying to you is this: Neil Disgrace Tyson will pay bitterly for his lies. He is a liar and a deceiver, and he will be punished. Those are the natural consequences and laws of the universe. The universe is a conscious being, and it does not allow satanic liars to exist when it takes control.
But usually, we don't really go into talks like that on this channel, so I don't really, it's a very negative thing. So, but I don't know who he is and what he is. I've heard the name, but I don't really know what he talks about in general.
Yeah, he's a Freemason. He's a Jesuit. He's a liar, like all the Jesuits who invented the psyop of globalism. And when they die, even before that, they're going to be rounded up because people are waking up, and they will be so sorry for their global agenda and their false idol that they've given people of the globe. Thou shalt not bow down to false idols. All the scriptures say that. Remember, scriptures are not religion. I'm not talking about religions, and
You were brought up as a Jehovah's Witness, and they certainly talk like that with doomsday, and only the Jehovah's Witnesses will be on the earth, and everybody else will die if they don't believe it, huh?
Sure, but that's their problem. That's because they're all stupid and brainwashed. But the way I'm speaking is from the universal law from Scripture, which is not religion, because I'm not aligned with any of these corporate religions. I'm a spiritualist. I'm a transcendentalist, a metaphysician, a syncretist. So I know all the ancient truths. I know them because I've read them.
But you still believe in judgment, though, huh?
Well, when you go to court, you get judged, right?
Yeah, but that's on the physical plane, the human plane. That's the New World Order strategy, also, isn't it? In a way.
There were courts in Tartaria that if anyone did wrong, they would be penalised. There were penalties. Yeah, there were laws that you could not break, and there are consequences, and that's judgment.
Certainly, if you do harm to other people.
That's in particular if you do harm, and telling lies is the greatest harm you can do to another. That's why I'm here to expose the lies. I'm your friend. Believe me, I'm your friend. I'm your friend who will help you, liberate you, so that you will be free from all of this enslavement, and you will go to a better place once you understand what syncretism teaches. Let me proceed. Pope Paul III. You see down here in Wikipedia, if you go and punch in Pope Paul III, it says here, Pope Paul was a significant patron of artists, including Michelangelo, and it is to him that Nicholas Copernicus dedicated his heliocentric treatise or hypothesis or theory. And what's his name? Alessandro Farnese. Alessandro Farnese, the Farnese family is one of the conquistador families.
Yeah, you spoke about those on in the first segment of this part of this show.
Yep. Together with the Borgia family, they created globalism, funded Copernicus. Copernicus then dedicated his book to him, of course, and then that was in 1542. In 1545, the Jesuits convened the Council of Trent for 20 years. And in the 15th Vatican Council of Trent, they there planned how they will bring the Copernican model to all the world who, stupid as they are, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Mayans, the Aztecs, believe that the Earth is a stationary horizontal plane. So they, with all their money and all their funding, after the mud floods, they went out and dispersed this psyop among humankind. So here is proof that Copernicus was a Jesuit. Now, let's proceed, please. Here we have experiments. I mentioned Pierluigi Gina, the genius. Here we have him in the laboratory proving that the Earth is stationary and that the ether is moving, and that's all that is moving. And here is the video, and here you can see the experiment with your own eyes with the strobe light flashing.
Dunque, la prima cosa che io vi devo dire che ribollerete è che l'uomo crede che la Terra gira e lui si ferma.
All right. He just said, first thing I have to begin saying is that mankind think that the Earth is turning, and yet the Earth is stationary. This is the guy who worked with Marconi for 10 years, and they both proved with this experiment he's going to show now that the Earth is stationary.
Questa è la parte principale di tutte le grandi conoscenze scientifiche. Lei sostiene che la Terra è ferma. Dunque, questo l'uomo crede, insomma, vuole avere la possibilità di credere le cose di madre natura e vedere le cose rovesciate. Adesso vi dico subito.
And can you talk while he is talking to explain to people what he's saying, because you speak Italian, huh?
Che cosa? Vi faccio vedere quello che vede l'uomo. Vede il movimento della Terra, invece è un effetto stroboscopico.
So he says, I'm going to now turn my strobe lights on. One strobe light is connected to the ether, the air, or the atmosphere. The other one goes into the ground. It's full of aluminium powder, pipes that go down, and they receive the energy. He calls it the two energies, the sun's energy and the earth's. And he said the sun is turning and the earth is stationary. And that's what everybody else before Copernicus, everybody taught and knew. So this is, he's going to press these buttons in a minute. Let's go forward. Here he goes. Turns on a switch.
Un attimo che intanto vede forte la voce. E qui c'è energia solare, energia.
You see that movement?
Lo vedete questo che è fermo?
Everything is still in his laboratory. Everything. Nothing is moving.
Perché l'energia solare che fa girare.
Now, this metal wheel he has here, this is not moving. And yet one of the strobe lights is proving that either the ether or the earth is moving. It can't be both. That's what he's saying. This proves it, because when that strobe, when the strobe light creates the shadow that is moving, he's saying that is the ether. Now, this is only one guy. I've got a list of more. Get the name, please, folks. This is in Italian. Now, for those who don't understand Italian, just watch this, please. Let me continue. I'm going to show you two videos that I've produced where I have translated this video, so you can watch it. How do I get rid of this? Oh, there. Let's go back to. Okay, so please go to this video on my channel, Mr. Astrotheology, where I translate everything he says. Earth is stationary by scientific experiment Santos Bonacci. 15-minute video. Then go to this other one. Another version I did. It's a 34-minute video, and it is entitled Earth is Stationary, Pierluigi Igina, Santos Bonacci.
And Pierluigi Igina is an Italian scientist, an older man. He's still alive, or what?
No, he died in 2004, and fortunately this interviewer interviewed him about this subject that he's been preaching all his life since Marconi died, that the Earth is stationary, and he is the inventor of a device which prevents earthquakes and makes weather. He shows in another video how he makes the clouds come and rain and how he makes the clouds disappear.
Like HARP technology, or maybe the kind of technology that they have and produce at CERN in Switzerland.
Yes. Let's continue on. Here is another video. I'm just going to go through these videos. I'm not going to play them. Please watch this video here. This is for all those who really, really are looking for the truth. Michelson-Gale experiment explained. Malcolm Bowden. Please watch that video. Michelson-Gale, they proved that the Earth is stationary. Here is another one, Sagnac, with his interferometer. Here is the title of the video. I'm going to just go through these. I don't have time. Geocentrism, Sagnac's experiment, an animated explanation, Malcolm Bowden. Now, Malcolm Bowden is a funny guy. He knows the Earth is stationary, but he still thinks it's a globe. So he's going to be in for a shock as well. He's going to be in for a big, big shock. Let's get rid of this and this, so at least I can open this doc. Okay. George Airy. I'm going to go to another one, please. Bear with me. Airy's failure, proof of stationary Earth. Siddharth Jain. For all you people who are looking for the truth. For anyone else, don't bother. Bye-bye. These two scientists conducted numerous experiments to measure the movement of the Earth through the, I don't know what it's saying there, the Earth through the ether with light beams. Their experiments showed that the Earth was not moving at all. This threw the godless, anti-Bible scientific community into a frenzy, and they had Einstein come up with a theory to debunk their findings. So Einstein was an enemy of these two guys. He created the theory of general relativity to get rid of the ether. Now, I've just done a video with Ken Wheeler, one of the greatest teachers of magnetism, and on my channel. Please go and watch it, all you truth seekers. There, Ken Wheeler proves and shows with sacred scripture and modern science in his laboratory that the ether exists. Let's continue on. Here is Albert Einstein. Since then, I've come to believe that the motion of the Earth cannot be detected by any obstacle experiment, though the Earth is revolving around the sun. So here are some smart globies who believe that we've taken Einstein out of context, actually by including though the Earth is revolving around the sun. They have shot themselves in the foot, the stupid idiots that they are. If you give them enough rope, they'll all hang themselves because they've got no proof. They've just got supposed evidences. So yes, flat earthers quote this often, and they don't bother to say the other bit, because that only makes what Einstein says even more ridiculous, because it shows that he's a liar. Because if you can't prove with an optical experiment, which Pierluigi Igina did, another enemy of Einstein's and the Jesuits, if you can't prove it, then you're an out-and-out dunce, which is what Einstein was. He was a dunce and a liar, like disgraced Tyson, who both will be rewarded. They will be rewarded. Here's the fraud Einstein. Jesuits took him from zero to hero. Inventions, zero. Discovery, zero. Breakthroughs, zeros. Proven theories, zeros. Here he is with his Jesuit friend, Jesuit priest Lemaitre, father of the Big Bang theory. These are the godless Jesuits who are behind coronavirus, the Inquisition, the Crusades, the conquistadors, globalism, and the global agenda. Anyone bowing down to this false Santa ball, you're all globalists. You're all ignorant globalists, and you support globalism. Good luck to you. Tesla on the ether. Only the existence of a field of force can account for the motions of the bodies as observed, and its assumption dispenses with space curvature. All literature on this subject is futile and destined to oblivion. So are all attempts to explain the workings of the universe without recognizing the existence of the ether and the indispensable function it plays in phenomena. I will move on. Here we have 42-minute mark. Please explain this, all you space believers, because Walter Russell laughed at space believers because he knew that there was no space. There's nothing, there's no emptiness.
They tell us that comets can...
Here's a time-lapse footage of a comet.
As you can see, the comet is not actually moving in its own path. It is fixed in its area on the firmament and moving in conjunction with the rest of the stars. There is no traveling comet journeying at 100,000 miles per hour. But look closer. Can you not see it? It is a large opening in the firmament, casting a ray of light from whatever exists behind and through the water beneath it, much like you see with the light entering in an underwater cave opening deep in the ocean. There's a very simple experiment that you can do in the comfort of your own home to prove the existence of the firmament or earthly dome. Create a rainbow. National Geographic tells us that a rainbow is a multicolored arc made by light striking water droplets. The most familiar type rainbow is produced when sunlight strikes raindrops in front of a viewer at a precise angle. Rainbows can also be viewed around fog, sea spray, or waterfalls. A rainbow is an optical illusion. It does not actually exist in a specific spot in the sky. The appearance of a rainbow depends on where you are standing and where the sun or other source of light is shining. They go on to state that rainbows are the result of the refraction and reflection of light. Both refraction and reflection are phenomena that involve a change in a wave's direction. A refracted wave may appear bent, while a reflected wave may seem to bounce back from a surface or other wavefront. Light entering a water droplet is refracted. It is then reflected by the back of the droplet. As this reflected light leaves the droplet, it is refracted again at multiple angles. Refraction is the bending of light. It also happens with sound, water, and other waves, as it passes from one transparent medium, such as glass, into another. Here we see the white light hitting the glass triangular prism and refracting the light into a straight rainbow. We have never seen a straight rainbow, a triangular rainbow, or one that forms right angles or goes up and down or left to right. In order for refraction to take place, the white light has to reflect through a prism, which has to be transparent like glass. So whatever the white light of the sun is hitting when we see a rainbow, it has to be the shape of the prism it is hitting. The rainbow is always there, but there needs to be a screen for us to see it. The rainbow is always there, but we only see it when the rain forms a condensed mist, like a screen. That's why we see smaller rainbows in garden sprinklers. And it's important to note that the rainbows we see in garden sprinklers retain the same shape as the ones we see in the sky. The screen mist of water provides us a screen to see the refracted light of the rainbow which holds its prism's shape, i.e. a glass dome. It's really that simple. In the same way, the laws of density and perspective are really that simple. But here's where it gets unbelievable. Look at this image of a rainbow reflected in the ocean. Notice how the colors are reflected, like in a mirror, so the colors are reversed. The violet, indigo, and blue that are always at the bottom of the rainbow are here at the top of the rainbow in the reflection. Now try this for yourself at home. ScienceSparks.com tells us how we can make a rainbow.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to go to 52.
Abstracts or cover notes of Soviet scientific studies. There are a couple of cards from the 1940s and 60s that are very telling. Here is an abstract outlining a study they were conducting on photographing the firmament. The full studies are not accessible to the public, but we can see here that they have produced a camera that can take a photograph of the firmament in its entirety all the way down to the horizon. Another abstract details echoes and glows in the firmament, and another measuring the color temperature of the firmament. In another abstract, there is a contents page for naval personnel. Look at the contents. The shape of the firmament, rings around the sun and distortion of the sun's and moon's disks at the horizon. Disks, not spheres, just like reference in the Book of Enoch. Again, it is just an abstract of the manual and we cannot see the full contents. In another abstract, we see reference to what they call the Eros firmament. It states that at the Eros firmament, the passage of the sun is 5 times quicker. The passage of the sun. They do not reference the Earth's spin in orbit, but that the sun is the one moving and making a passage over the Earth right below the firmament. Notice the dates, which align with all the operations at the poles and firing missiles up into our sky. The reference to a firmament is scarce and almost unnoticeable in the hundreds of pages that were declassified, but it is there. And there is a huge difference between these declassified documents and the government leaks I spoke about earlier, like that of Majestic 12. Barely anyone has ever noticed these snippets of study abstracts. I would say that it was by negligence that these references were even declassified within hundreds of other pages of unrelated material in the first place. But I don't think it's that. It's complacency. No one is ever likely to come across these buried documents, and if they did, I doubt they would think twice after skimming over a study title referencing the firmament.
In the Bible, it says, on the second day of creation, God created the firmament. In Bhagavad Gita, it talks about the firmament. Ptolemy, which is the model I use, the most famous of all the astrologers who ever lived, before Copernicus, supposedly Ptolemy, his model finished when the Jesuit Copernicus came along, but Ptolemy speaks about the firmament. He says the firmament is above Saturn, and then there's a crystalline sea, and then there is the primum mobile. And this is all astrological. I teach astrology, so I know that it's a geocentric system.
So are you saying, like what this gentleman in the video was just saying, that the MJ12 classified documents or the whole project or the Freedom of Information Act, would you not say that those documents that you can acquire there, or I mean that you can get, would you say that they're not truthful or falsified or what?
Brother, I've got so many of these leaked documents talking about the flat Earth and the firmament. Even Encyclopedia Britannica of 1958, you can Google that right now and find dome. You see the dome written there. It says,
yeah, you talked about that. Would you say that like MJ12 is not a truthful operation or a real thing? Is that not a real thing? And what about the Freedom of Information Act? Those papers?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of leaks that are, this is scientific. You can see it's scientific. They went and did experiments like Admiral Byrd. This is not a, this is not a, like a, these leaks that are meant for divide and conquer and co-opting movements. This is stuff you find when you do research.
So just before you go on, can I just, I mean, there's an interesting, I think it relates to what you are presenting right now. There's a viewer, Danny, who writes, I believe the Earth is flat. I just don't believe the dome theory. But...
All right, let's have a look at the dome theory right now. Have a look at this rocket.
But he says that he believes that we are part of space and the universe. Can that be accurate without the dome theory? I guess this is what this Danny is saying here.
Well, Danny, if you call it the ionosphere, call it the thermosphere, call it the Van Allen belt, we call it the dome, we call it the firmament, like the ancients did. Now there's a different name. Now it's the ionosphere, but it's there, and scientists are now saying you can't leave that. You cannot leave the Van Allen belt, which starts at 600 miles high. You can't leave it. Humans cannot leave it. There's too much radiation, they say. But I'm going to show you pictures of rockets that skim along the firmament, skimming and shooting off water. I'm going to show you videos of this. So let's have a look at this. I've got so much to show you guys, man. We're going to be doing part 100.
Let's see how much we can get to, though, huh? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think a lot of people will just get bored anyway, but I don't know. Here's a team of guys, non-governmental. This is the first private sending of a spaceship to go out in space, and they filmed it. Watch what happens. My internet's slow. It's Mexico, guys. Welcome to Mexico. Well, let's get back to this in a minute, because we're gonna see the rocket hitting that firmament. I'm going to proceed. Here we have Nicholas Copernicus. The Pythagorean teaching of heliocentrism was founded upon hypothesis, and it is not necessary that the hypothesis theory should be true or even probable. The hypothesis of the movement of the Earth is only one which is useful to explain certain phenomena, but it should not be considered as absolute truth. This is the Jesuits were founded in 1542, friends, with their global agenda. Nicholas Copernicus, Nick, you see the word Nick, and then Copernic, that's the devil. Nicholas, Saint Nicholas is the devil. They've got his name. They've got Nick in there twice, like Galileo Galilei. Do you know what Galilei means? Galileo? Galileo means to move, to revolve. And they were his recanting words when he said, and yet it moves. You see how they're putting theatre characters before our eyes. It's not even a real name.
But how is the name Nick connected to that? To Satan, you said.
Yeah, well, Saint Nick is Satan. It's another way, like Santa Claus. It's like saying Satan.
Nicolaus.
Yeah, Nick is the devil. Everyone knows that. I knew that since I was a little boy. So, you know, they call you a little Nick. Oh, he's a little Nicholas, little devil. Okay, here is etymology. This is an old etymological dictionary. Planet. What does planet mean? Perhaps from a nasalized form of peer root, pele, flat to spread, on the notion of spread out. Planet, world that orbits a star, wandering star. So this is showing that what we call planets are actually wandering stars. But planet, plano, plane, here in Latin, it says flat and level. All right. Now I want to take you to another documentary that all must watch, where you will see tens and tens and tens of government documents proving that that pilots are trained on a stationary flat Earth. Here it is, government documents admit flat earth, and the channel is Dean Odell. Please start at 45-minute mark. And please check all of these. Just keep watching up until 1 hour 44, please. And you will see all through these, you will see all the government documents proving that all aircraft and pilots are trained on a stationary flat earth. Let's continue on. Here is the Bible. Chronicles, he has fixed the earth firm, immovable. Psalm, thou hast fixed the earth immovable and firm. Psalm 96, he has fixed the earth firm, immovable. Psalm 104, thou didst fix the earth on its foundation so that it never can be shaken. Isaiah 45:18, who made the earth and fashioned it and himself fixed it fast. Okay, here is the Bible. Look, this is 2 Samuel. Can you see here, all you Bible believers? I know you're going to have people who love the Bible like I do. There's the word flat earth. There it is in the Bible, guys. Right there. I can send this quote to you. I can send it to you. Okay. Here is John Calvin. Here is George Orwell ridiculing the globe earth. Here is Martin Luther ridiculing his contemporary Copernicus, saying that he's a lying deceiver and he is just trying to make a name for himself with fancy astronomy. Here is what Martin Luther said. He says, there is talk of a new astrology who wants to prove that the earth moves and goes around instead of the sky, the sun, the moon, just as if somebody were moving in a carriage or ship might hold that he was sitting still and at rest while the earth and trees walked and moved. But that is how things are nowadays. When a man wishes to be clever, he must invent something special. And the way he does it must needs be best. The fool wants to turn the whole art of astronomy upside down. However, the Holy Scripture tells us, so did Joshua bid the sun stand still and not the earth. Here's Rudolf Steiner.
You already read all of those. I think we have them, though.
Okay, let's move on.
Yes.
Let's move on. William Blake, a genius. All right, here we've got another quote. But we know of no body, the parts of which have much less connection with each other than is the case with the air. The air layer next to the earth, really dragged along by the communicated motion, would not be able to communicate its motion to the layers above it, for the simple reason that it stands in no connection with them. These upper layers must therefore remain in their place, or which would signify the same thing, would apparently flow westward in the same rapidity with which the earth is said to rotate to the east. Now, since a point on the equator, if the earth rotates on its axis in a day, must move eastward at the rate of 1,250 feet a second, the air would simply move 1,250 feet westward in a second, which would more than 10 times surpass the velocity of the most fearful hurricane. We cannot perceive the rotation of the earth in any way. We cannot demonstrate it. There is no air currents which we can justly regard as, or even suppose to be, consequences of this rotation. These facts ought to be proof enough against the existence of a rotation of the earth. Must it not appear almost absurd in us, preoccupied by what they have taught us in school, to accept a theory of the rotation of the earth which neither is nor can be proven? Must we not ponder at the readiness of the learned of nearly the entire world from the time of Copernicus and Kepler to accept the conception of the rotation of the earth, and then search afterwards, now for nearly 3.5 centuries, for arguments to maintain it, but of course, without being able to find them? This is Dr. Karl Schopfler, The Earth Stands Fast, a physics professor. Photographic proof. Anyone can go to this site, put in the words beyond horizons, 443 kilometers, Finistrel, Pyrenees, Pic Gaspard, Alps. And the website is called beyondrange.wordpress.com. But here you'll see the Mediterranean Sea from Spain to France. You can see all the peaks of all the mountains, and they're all standing up at eye level on the flat Earth. This is 250 miles. You should not be able to see, you should only be able to see just the little tips of those mountains if we were on a globe. That is a flat ocean. That's 100% flat. Okay, let us continue on. Let's go back and see. So the government documents, this is a really good one. I really recommend that you you do check this one because...
You already mentioned that one before.
All right, let's get away from that then. Let's go back to here.
Going to say, let me show you. In 2014, civilian space geeks constructed their own rocket with a camera on and sent it up with the goal of being the first civilian rocket to make it to space. Look what happens.
Our mission as the Civilian Space Exploration Team is to be the first civilian team in history to launch a rocket that reaches space.
All systems are go for launch. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Notice how the sound gets quieter. That's interesting.
We don't hear much sound anyway, right? I mean, and now there's hardly anything.
That's right. That's right. And I can explain that. Hitting the dome in 5 seconds. Bang. Rocket is stuck. There is the Earth.
What did that rocket hit? If there was a high amount of intense radiation up there, it would have scorched that mini rocket to pieces. There is no radiation above us covering a globular spinning planet ball. It is a flat, stationary plane with a firmament above. And I know that you want to scream and say that does not prove anything. The rocket's engine could have failed. But take it easy. We are just getting started.
But can we know that this was a real video, though?
That is one hell of a psyop. And everyone that's fallen for it is unintelligent. Simple. Pure and simple. Unintelligent or uninformed.
But can we know that this video is totally truthful or not? I mean, not created or made in some kind of way as a film?
Well, I mean, Hollywood's hiding it in your face. Have you ever seen
The Truman Show?
The Truman Show?
Sure, absolutely.
I'm gonna show you hundreds of evidences where Hollywood sticks it in your face.
But that certainly is just what you're explaining. That's what I asked the last time. It's like The Truman Show, and you said, yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right.
It's a closed system. It's a closed system. Even the Simpsons joke about it. Hillary Clinton, I'm going to show you in a few minutes. Let's go to the, where's Hillary Clinton, the witch? And I'm being
And the more they brainwash us with movies about space, fake rocket launches, and bamboozlement science, we are forgetting more and more that our ancient historical texts reference the firmament. The Book of Enoch, a non-canonical biblical text that was discovered as part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, reads, "And I saw the cornerstone of the earth, And I saw the four winds which support the earth and the sky. And I saw the winds which turn the sky and cause the disk of the sun and all the stars to set. And I saw the winds of the earth which support the clouds. And I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of heaven above. The Quran references it. With power and skill did we construct the firmament. The book of Job, which is older than the Torah itself, references this very firmament. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong as a molten looking glass?
Glass. Pay
What does that
attention.
mean?
Pay attention. Here comes Hillary Clinton.
A molten looking glass.
I guess I'm up against the highest, hardest stained glass ceiling.
See this guy here with this cross here? This guy's a Jesuit. See this guy here? This guy's a Jesuit. See her? She went to a Jesuit school. Globalists.
Oh, I guess I'm up against the highest, hardest stained glass ceiling.
Hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling right now.
It's fine for all this talk about me running to break the big hard glass ceiling.
Although we weren't able to shatter that hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you. It's got about 18 million cracks in it. And the light is shining through like never before.
But Santos, this is of course very interesting. But what does she explain that she refers to by continuing to talk about this stained glass ceiling?
Because they know that they're trying to break through, because they are the demons that were cast here on earth, who are the bloodlines who are controlling us and who are running this pathetic psyop, and they know that they can't get out. They can't get out because there is a firmament.
Yeah, but what would she explain is what she is actually saying, what she says she is saying. I mean, what do you think she's really saying? This is, of course, this could be a subliminal message, of course, and this very interesting. But how does she explain it?
Well, let me show you what she says.
Thousands of chunks of strange yellow-green glass.
It is really, really mysterious glass. We scientists are still kind of puzzled how these things form.
And I can't believe we just put the biggest crack in that glass ceiling yet. It's got about 18 million cracks in it.
Again, they are telling us.
You know those nuclear bombs that they keep blasting? They keep trying to blast through the firmament. She said it has 18 million cracks. And thanks to people like you, we will break through one day. In other words, she's talking to all the dumbed down, brainwashed sheeple that if you keep supporting globalism, a satanic lie, you will join us in hell.
What is she expecting people to understand or believe when she talked about this stained glass ceiling?
It's an inside joke. They know. They know the Earth is stationary.
But I mean, so many times saying it. I mean, it would be discovered anyway, wouldn't it? I mean, what does she really mean? I mean, we know what you say she really is. She really means. But how does she explain it to other people? Do you think?
Well, I mean,
it's a metaphor.
They have many secrets about this Earth that they don't tell us, brother. I mean, think about the question I posed to you last week. Why don't they just park Elon Musk's car on the North Pole and film it for 24 hours and just show the North Pole? And we'll all be happy. Because they can't. They can't circumnavigate the Earth north-south. They always go east-west because the compass will make them turn and go around the Earth and end up at the same spot that they started because they're going by their compasses. They can never do that, south-north, because there is no North Pole as we think it is. Otherwise, they would just go there.
Yeah, that we touched upon that, certainly. We have a question from one of the viewers here, Sarah, who writes, if we are to believe flat Earth theory, how do you explain gravity and the Coriolis force, the Coriolis effect? I think you talked about that a little bit earlier as well.
Yes, Coriolis is the ether. It's the ether. That's what's happening. Pierluigi Iguina explains it. He explains why gun barrels have spirals inside them, so that the bullets turn to overcome the effect of Coriolis, which he calls the effect of the ether. It's electromagnetism. It's an electromagnetic world, and it is pushing down. It is because of our density. Because when you're in water, see, I can pick up a fat man in water, but I can't pick up a fat man in the air because of the density of the medium. So again, it's showing clearly that we are denser than the air. Well, if gravity existed, how can you put helium in a balloon and up it goes? Surely it's more powerful than a few square cubic inches of helium. And the butterflies are flying around. The cargo ships in Australia, they're stuck to the water, but the butterflies that are flying around the containers, they're just flying around. They're not sucked and slammed to the ocean, sucked up into the ocean with gravity. You see how stupid it is gravity is just, it's a theory. It's Newton's theory. He was a Jesuit.
Well, if you jump over a balcony or fall from a cliff or a mountain or something, you'll hit the ground and die.
Exactly, because you are denser than the air. And here's the photo of Reunion from Mauritius. There's Reunion. There's Mauritius. No, hang on. We are 140 miles away, and there's the island, flat, 120 miles long. That's proof. That's all you need. You don't. This is it. That's all you need. You show that to a kindergarten kid, and he can understand that. That's all you need. Look at this. For the first time, after almost 30 years, the Himalayan ranges are visible from 230 kilometers away due to less pollution in the lockdown. So the lockdown now, 30 years they couldn't see these mountains. Look, you can see the bottom of the mountain, and you can see it at eye level at 230 kilometers away.
It doesn't look that far, does it?
No, but this is it. Our infrared photos. Please have a look at this video, guys. Please have a look at this video. Here we go for another one. Mississippi River, Great Lakes, and Hudson Bay at 1,200 miles infrared. This is the channel, J. Tolan Media 1. Please, please, please have a look at this. Let's have a look at just a little bit of this. I won't bore you too much.
Look at that. Wow. I'm using a Sony AX53 camera with a 950 nanometer infrared filter. The zoom capability is about 30x.
You're going through about 6 states here, all the way to Canada. And of course, the shills out there are saying it's disproven. It has not. It has not. This guy's got tens of videos proving that he can get 1,200 miles of flat Earth.
But people will just explain it like you're moving along the curve, huh?
Lake Superior, right up here.
But it always kind of looks like that from a plane, right? Even though you sometimes can see the Earth curving, and you said that that was the window in the plane.
Exactly. But see, the thing is, the horizon always comes up to your eye level, which it should never. On both windows, left and right, you look in a plane, 40,000 miles high, you'll see the horizon. Whether it looks curving or not, it doesn't matter. If it's at your eye level, then it's a flat plane.
And let me just soon also take a few more questions from the audience, so we'll get that in as well.
Even if these globies say that this is that was not Lake Michigan, there's at least 700 miles of flat Earth right there out of the cockpit.
But people will say you have to get up much higher to see the globe.
And then they say that you can see it when you're standing on the ground. When you're at the ocean, they say, "Oh, I can see the curvature here."
Yeah, it's a very, very confusing game, this globe Earth versus flat Earth, isn't it? It's quite a mystery.
It can be, but if you do your due diligence and study enough, you will come to the conclusion that it is definitely stationary. No sort of dirt can be flying through space at Mach 88 and not be trembling constantly. It just can't be.
Certainly, this is a program, this is a show about truth, and we always want to get as close to the truth as we can and want to present as many different views and understandings of life as we possibly can. And I think this is a topic that we have not discussed very much on the show, and it's interesting to really go in depth. And that's also why, you know, the viewers have had a lot of questions. There's one here who writes for you, "I have heard that the actual computer code programming language has been found that proves that this is a computer simulation or game. Or do you think that that is another false flag?"
It's a very highly sophisticated, inconceivable computer, video game, simulation, holographic universe. And I can go into that as well. But it is what she said, but it needs to be explained properly. But it is, brother. It's a dream. It's a dream in the mind of the creator. And the Earth can only be flat because every torus field has a plane of inertia. And as Ken Wheeler teaches, matter can only be formed on the plane of inertia. There can be no other matter in a torus field. And they tell you, scientists will tell you that atoms are empty. And that's because only the nucleus, which is a neutron, has got anything that resembles a particle or matter, because that's how atoms are.
Yeah, and atoms have no solidity, obviously, huh?
That's right. Yeah, apparently. Well, but it does have they do have a plane of inertia, because every magnet has this, a plane of inertia. And a torus field is an atom, and our solar system is an atom, and your anatomy is an atom. Man is called Adam or atom because of atoms.
Yeah, you mentioned that. That's also very interesting with this, the word soup there, which is always interesting. You know so much about words and colors and everything that we also discussed in part 1.
Have a look at this. NASA. This is in their dictionary. To deceive, greatly deceived, beguiled, utterly forget, to utterly forget. NASA is nothing but Satan. This is an anagram for Satan. That's why they put the red serpent T, so that the insiders know that this is satanic. It's a satanic psyop. One thing I really want you to know, and this guy here, oh my God, this Neil, what's his name? Bill Nye, the lying guy. One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave. Let's hear it from the horse's mouth, shall we? Let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Or from the goat's mouth, I should say. He's a Freemason.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. The Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the earth. We cannot leave the earth.
We cannot leave the earth.
The earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the earth.
Yeah, but couldn't that also be a way to... Oh.
Have a look at this. Have a look at this, guys. That's the firmament. There's a crashing into the firmament. We've seen this one. Let's go forward.
We saw this. Yeah.
Okay, now let's get rid of that. Let's go. Let's keep moving. That one was good. That one was
but I
good.
mean, this video you just showed us with Bill Nye, couldn't that also be part of a fear kind of programming that you can't leave, which is also basically what you're saying, isn't it? That we can't leave, we're trapped, and if we make people believe that, or if we can get people to believe that, then they will be hijacked even more in their perception, in their understanding of who they are, and can't go anywhere, huh? I mean, in terms of leaving when they leave the body.
In that case, they shouldn't be talking about going to Mars, because if they're admitting that you can't leave the Earth, then why are they saying, "Oh, we've got missiles out there or whatever, rovers and."
But that could be part of fear programming as well, right? Trying to capture the mind to think that you can't leave, that you're helpless, that you have no will of your own, also in your consciousness.
Admission granted. Yes, it could be, but I've only just started, brother. This is only the beginning. This is only scratching the surface.
Obviously, there's so much more to cover, even though we've been going for quite a long time. Huh?
Orion is getting ready to launch. Orion is NASA's next generation spacecraft. Built with versatility in mind, it can take astronauts deeper into space than we've ever gone before, to an asteroid or even onto Mars. For these missions, Orion has to be one tough spacecraft, withstanding high speeds, searing temperatures, and extreme radiation. Before we can send astronauts into space on Orion, we have to test all of its systems. And there's only one way to know if we got it right: fly it in space. For Orion's first flight, no astronauts will be aboard. The spacecraft is loaded with sensors to record and measure all aspects of the flight in every detail. It all begins with launch aboard a Delta IV Heavy rocket.
This is all theater. This is all stage. This is all ridiculous pseudoscience.
Automated gusting numbers flight. Orion's over 100 miles up and going about 17,000 miles per hour. Just as it passes over the Indian Ocean, we lose communication. This is expected. The communications link we have through satellites to Orion is momentarily lost, but Orion continues to receive and process data. Its computers can handle 480 million instructions per second.
Notice how they've got a camera there? There was a camera, when the moon landing happened, there was already a cameraman waiting on the moon to watch the historical moment. That's pretty clever.
Imagine you are traveling with Orion. Flight test continues. One orbit complete.
It's all CGI. It's so ridiculously funny.
Yeah, a lot of that all looks like CGI. Whether you believe the flat Earth or globe Earth or whatever, a lot of it really looks like CGI, doesn't it?
Yeah, when they could give us, with all the money they get,
maybe you can just address, or link to, tell people where they can go and look at all of these videos, because there's a lot to see, but I don't know how much we can get to cover on this show. So it's quite a lot.
Okay, well, I would say to people then, ask me for this document, I'll send it to you.
Great. And we just have a couple of more questions from the audience, and then we can wrap up with your conclusions here. I think maybe that would be a good idea. So,
all right. Well, in that case, I'll remember where we left off here.
So there's this Nicholas, by the way, who writes, who created Earth and then aliens, and why create a flat-planed Earth when a globe plus gravity plus atmosphere and surrounding round planets makes 100% sense scientifically, but also is the only way possible? Is it then the only way possible? Why does it all fit together?
No, it's much more conceivable and plausible that the Earth is flat, because it's the plane of inertia of a massive torus field, which is closed like an atom. You see here the atom, and then you scroll down. There is only one shape, and it is this. This is how torus fields work. The Earth is the plane of inertia. Once you understand that the Earth only has one model, even the galaxies are like this. Once you understand that this is the only model that can possibly exist, balls, torus fields with planes of inertia intersecting them at the middle, then you will understand the electromagnetic world.
If you just go up for just one moment, Santos, I would like to ask a question about that one. Yeah, is that, no, that one, yeah. Is that how you describe the flat Earth with the dome? And where it says Terra, is that's the landmass or what?
Yes, yes.
And then underneath where it says inframundi, is that's underneath? You talked about the layers, like a layer cake we discussed, that could be described as hollow Earth or going into under the ground. And the CL is the dome. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
So altogether, it looks like a globe, though. I mean, the whole the structure of it anyway.
Notice the word in French ciel for heaven, and it is the same word as ceiling. When you have a ceiling in your room, that's the top of the room. So heavens means a ceiling. It is a ceiling. It is sealed, and like above my hand, I'm pointing to the ceiling of this room. That's the heavens. It's a ceiling. It's a firmament.
Mm-hmm. And then there's but that's something else, I think. He says, please ask Peter Donnelly says, please ask Santos about white tantra. He's an advocate. But I mean, but that's a whole other thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll take that another time.
Yeah, this is the Nordic system. They call it a tree. The North Pole has a massive magnetic tree-like structure.
Like the tree of life symbolism?
Yep, same in your body. That's why your spinal column has a lumbar. Lumbar means tree. A lumberjack is a tree cutter. So why does your spinal column have a lumbar? Because it's the same torus field of your torso. Your torso is a torus, and the center of it is the earth, which is the heart. They are the same word, and it's showing you right there. There's only one system. There's only one model. There cannot be any other model. There cannot be any other way. This is how the universe makes things. Every part of the universe is like this fractally. There's no difference. There's no divergence.
So Santos, supposing that everything you're saying is true, and let's say it's correct with the flat Earth plane and the dome, and we talked about people or souls being captured here, shouldn't we then discuss, or shouldn't you also present a solution for people or for consciousness or for souls on this so-called capsuled prison planet on how to get out of here when we leave the body, or with our consciousness, how we can go through the so-called wormhole or the cheese holes that some people talk about? What's the solution to all of this, supposing that this is actually so?
The solution is for us to do good works, good deeds, to, well, I use the word ascend. I know it's popular in the New Age movement, and they have what they think it means, but ascending means to evolve, to develop, to optimize, to grow, to become more intelligent, more conscious, to become more than just who you think you might be, you know, to be all of your power, to restore all of your power, all of your knowledge. You can know everything. You can have this knowledge. And that comes through knowing this basic truth first. Look at this Reichstag building in Germany. There's the North Pole in the middle. They are showing you how it works. And all the planets going round and round over the flat Earth. That's why buildings have domes, because they say all buildings are shaped in the nature of the universe. It's an electromagnetic system. Once we understand that, and we understand how waves work, nothing can stop us.
So, I mean, this has been really fascinating. I mean, to wrap up this section, this session again, which has been 2 parts of part 2, what is your best message right now for people watching this? And some may be bewildered or angry, and some may be enlightened and fascinated, and now maybe they understand it much more. But I mean, what would you say also? I mean, we don't want to divide the growing truth movement, especially at this very crucial and difficult time on planet Earth here in July 2021, and we know what's coming. And the more people wake up, the more we can actually change what is coming. So, I mean, we all want to unite, we all want to be together. We don't want to shout globetards or flat earth, stupid idiots, and other names at people. We want to actually be together and grow, don't we? And how can we do that in the best possible and most constructive way? What is your message for people listening to this?
Well, as I'm doing, giving proofs, not just pseudoscience evidences. It means nothing. You know, just because I have a mouth organ, a harmonica here, that doesn't prove that I can play the mouth organ, but this does. Sorry, it got blocked before. There was one of the holes was blocked. So I just proved to you, rather than going like this, I can play the mouth organ. That's just evidence. This is evidence. That's all you're doing with everything when it comes to the globe. That's why that man I read before, he said, they can never bring any proofs. For 300 years, they've been trying to. And still there's not one, not even a half a proof, not even a half of a one. So I would say to people, don't listen to hocus pocus, honky shonky, wonky, dodgy, bodgy, bogus, pseudoscience, and use your own minds. Use your intelligence, and you will see, as your very intelligent ancestors who would be rolling in their graves once knew, that we lived on a horizontal planet, and it's stationary. It never moves. It's never moved a millimeter.
So don't you think it would be good if we could unite together and grow here instead of, you know, no matter what we believe? Because people must use discernment. They must be critical towards all kinds of information. But this is also an important piece in the puzzle, of course. And if this is true, it's a very, very important piece.
I propose this to you, brother. Would you rather be divided in truth or united in a lie?
United in truth.
That's how you do it, by exposing the lie and then sorting out the wheat from the chaff. And you see that the chaff have got no proofs and the true ones have. Eventually, ultimately, it will be official sooner very soon it'll be official that we live on a stationary because they can't hide it forever. And then people will have to humble themselves. And like I did 6 years ago, I completely humbled myself and said, hey, the earth is flat and stationary, and I did not regard what people think because I don't care what they think. It's their opinion. So I would say I would rather choose the option of being divided in truth to find unity in truth, because ultimate truth is all there is. There is only truth.
Great. And do you and just to end here, do you on a different note, do you think that we can change the paradigm that we're in right now? Do you think we can change the whole agenda of what we're facing right now with the whole world crisis?
We're doing it, brother. We're winning it. We are winning. Look around. You will see that we are winning. People are standing up. They're standing up to the lies. You see people that were sleeping 3 years ago, they're out on the streets now in Portugal, in Algeria, in Boston. They're all out on the streets. They don't want any more of these lies. They've had enough. Locking down for what? For 3 COVID deaths. You know, these are the same liars that are promoting global unity. Come on, come with us, Hillary Clinton. Let's go with the Clintons and the Bushes. You know, we'll invade Iraq and Libya and kill some people and have some fun and just and continue the global community.
Yeah, well, it's certainly been really fascinating, really controversial, challenging, and exciting, and so interesting to hear you explain all of this. And it's been nice to get to know you a little better. And until we meet again and we can do another session, another meeting, I want to thank you so much, Santos Bonacci, for being on Age of Truth once again. Thank you so much.
I thank you. You are doing the world a great favor because you have an open mind. It doesn't matter. You're not siding, and you're allowing me to speak. When I was on the debate, which I'll never do again, I was not allowed to. Because why? Because he knew that he would be very, very, very exposed. So you are a hero, brother. Everyone you interview, I love. You find all the great truth seekers and you interview them with a pure heart, a very intelligent mind, great questions. And thank you, everybody, not me. Thank you for putting this up today.
Thank you so much for that love, Santos. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
You deserve it. You deserve it, brother. Keep going. We need you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Wonderful. And I'll see you again. And until then, have a wonderful day in Mexico, huh?
Thank you, brother. Take care. Bye.
Thank you again so much to Santos Bonacci for being on Age of Truth TV. It's been really fascinating and really interesting to talk about this very controversial topic, no matter if you can believe it or not. The important thing is that we all have an open mind and that we should use discernment and be critical, but with an open heart, always do our own research. That's how we get as close to the truth as we possibly can. Please share links to this video and to our work here at Age of Truth TV. Kindly do not re-upload our videos, but share links to the work. We need the viewers. We need all of you to keep the channel going during this difficult time of censorship that we're all facing. And remember that all of our work, all of our shows, also the ones that are no longer on this channel and has been taken down, you can find it when you go to our website, ageoftruth.tv. Please go to ageoftruth.tv for all of our videos. And please like our videos, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell for notifications. You can also sign up for our newsletter on our website, ageoftruth.tv as well. Please also subscribe to our alternative channels on BitChute and Brighteon, and follow us on Instagram and on Facebook for updates on when we have a new show out. On behalf of the Age of Truth TV team, we thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again very soon.